Hi, I'm Rob from popzine.com. Thanks for joining me live on YouTube and Google Plus for our monthly beer chat called Hops, Malt, Yeast and Waffle. I know it's not a great name, but well, you've got to get used to it. Just get used to it. So this month we've got a little bit of a different lineup, a truly international lineup as well. We've got, first up, we've got Wayne Dunne from the Irish Beer Snob. How you doing, Wayne?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yes, very good, very good. Next up, a familiar face. Poland's favourite son, Simon Martin. How you doing?
Hello, how are you all? Cheers.
Good, good, good. Next up, as I referred to him earlier on Facebook, YouTube mega icon, Peter the Master of Hobbits. You are. I'm not lying.
I'm just a kid who likes to drink beer on camera.
Oh, you're so modest.
But cheers.
Next up, you mean?
Cheers.
My eyes deceive me. I think it's actually a woman. I can't believe we've actually got a female on.
Oh my God! Wait, do I need to show my vagina just to prove it? Wait, hold on.
that might help. That might help. Kind of viewing figures, to be honest.
Does the watershed apply to YouTube?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, the brewery
industry
isn't sexist at all, but shows your vagina, yeah, why not?
We didn't say that.
No, we didn't say that.
But yes, we've got Nitch from Tasting Nitch. Thank you very much for joining us, part of your very, very hectic social calendar.
I know, right? I'm missing birthday parties and shit tonight.
I know.
That's fine.
Well, we feel honoured.
I'm honored. This is awesome. You guys all speak English, right? Cool. That's good.
Of sorts, yeah. Well, one's Welsh, one's Irish, one's Danish, and then I'm definitely from Yorkshire. Jack's probably the most legible one of all of us. You mean?
It's all right.
So last up, Jack Walker, Bear Beer Reviews. How are we doing?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, cheers.
Good, good. So, as we always do, start with what we're drinking now. What you've been drinking recently. So, Wayne, what's in your glass and what have you enjoyed recently? What would you recommend from what you've drunk recently to other people?
Well, I've been enjoying quite a lot of beer recently. I'm drinking 8 Degrees Full Irish at the moment. One of my favourite Irish breweries, set up by New Zealand and Aussie. So they're actually a bit... They go against convention, and there's not a lot of pale ales. It's all IPAs and really mad hoppy stuff. Really enjoyed Galway Bay's 200 Fathoms, which got launched there a couple of weeks ago. Whiskey barrel aged Imperial Stout, 10%. Chris down there is brewing some absolutely awesome stuff. Like Foam and Fury, it's a perennial favourite, but the table beer that's made off the second run-ins of that, the Amaris, I think it's called, is a superb beer in its own right, perfect for a couple at lunchtime, you know?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later, but you mean, I've recently been drinking quite a bit of Irish stuff as well, but you mean, and especially I had the double Irish, which was really good. I've noticed the full Irish is back available on Drink Store, which I was very tempted to buy some more of, but yeah, I've been really impressed so far. So, next up
is you have no excuses, man.
Well, see, the thing is with, I guess, delivery charges, I can also buy from Mikkeller for £15 postage as well. And every day I'm always looking on Mikkeller's online shop thinking, when are they going to get some Free Floyds on there? When are they going to get some Sterling or something? I'm waiting for that moment. Anyway, the dilemma of the beer geek, I guess.
Yeah.
Next up, Simon. Are you drinking a bottle of Pedigree, as always?
No, not today. I'm drinking a Polestar Pilsner from Left Hand. I kind of matched that to compare what an American Pilsner would taste like against like a Portuguese premium lager. So I did 2 reviews back to back, and they were surprisingly similar. I'm then drinking Dogtoberfest Marzen by Flying Dog, which is very nice, and this Founder's Ale by... I've been drinking a lot of these Terry Pratchett beers recently, since Christmas, which it was terrible, absolutely terrible.
Well, you've got to be honest about these things.
Yeah.
Because I think they've moved breweries for those Discworld ales, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they went from Brentwood Brewing Company up to Brecon Brewing in Wales. The stuff from Brecon is really nice, but I think I've just had probably the last bottle from Brentwood Brewing Company, and it was flat as a pancake. There it is, there in the glass. It's just like vinegar.
I had one of the Heather Honey Ales or something from the same series right at the start when I started doing reviews, and it wasn't even good back then, and my palate wasn't so educated. But R.I.P. by the way, R.I.P. But
hey, you know, it happens. I think you've got to review good with the bad, haven't you? Just to kind of keep your channel. I don't know. Fair. Am I right?
I don't know.
No, Peter doesn't do that.
Maybe I
Peter
tried
just
to
drinks
avoid
white
that
whales.
Once in a while. Once in a blue moon, I drink white whale. It's been a while.
There was a stretch of time when it was all white whales.
That was when I got Framboos from Three Fontaine. I was like trading like crazy. Give me all the
And that reappeared last week, very briefly.
Yeah, I saw it in online shops.
Yeah, me
It
too.
was gone like that, and the prices rose in like so quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Simon, what have you had recently? What you've enjoyed? Obviously, you're loving the Sagres. What have your stream?
I've been enjoying some Stone, the Portal Porter. I don't think it was as good as the vanilla or the original one. I thought it was one of them beers you try, you enjoy it, and then you kind of probably never buy it again. That was my initial feeling with it. I'm enjoying the Macalla beers. I'm trying to get as many as Macalla beers as I can. I think they're pretty decent. And then just moving around all over Europe, really, trying to get as many beers as I can to get going with reviewing.
Yeah, beers from Europe. You mean it sounds like a nice thing.
Yeah.
Oh, nice subtle fucking kind of like, anyway. Forget it. Peter, what are you drinking at the moment? What have you had recently? Which we're probably never gonna drink because it's far too rare.
At the moment, I'm drinking Westbrook Bosen.
Oh, cool.
I haven't had this. It just showed up. Huh?
Those are good.
Oh yeah, really good. So I'm drinking that in the moment, or I reviewed that, and then I reviewed this one as well. Evil Twin Molotov Cocktail. Molotov Light, the light version, which is like a double IPA instead of a triple IPA. It's 10 times better than like the Molotov Cocktail, because when you get that fresh or get that here, it's just super old.
yeah, it's like a barley wine.
Yeah, it's like a barley wine. This is more like a double IPA.
Cool. So worth trying that one then.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's about 2.5 months old now, so it's not too bad actually.
Do you want to know how much that
And
kind of
it's
stuff
like-
costs here? It's ridiculous. We can't. No way. I would never pay that. I can't.
It was expensive here. I paid 75 kroners for a can, which is like, what, 10 pounds or something like that?
What?
Wow.
That's okay. That's bad.
Denmark is expensive as fuck.
No. Yeah. Yep. No.
But other than that, I've had a good beer. I had Trois Pistoles by Unibrew. That is a damn awesome Belgian strong dark ale. And then I had Brooklyn's Hand and Seal Ale, which is a beer commemorating Garrett Oliver's 20th anniversary at Brooklyn or something like that. It's a barley wine. The best Brooklyn beer I've ever had. It took me by surprise for sure. It was really good.
Nick's good friend, Garrett Oliver.
Yeah. No. I just had that. I had that last week. We were doing a bunch of that. That's all my words. That's what I had. I had all of those. We had all of Garrett Oliver's ghost bottles, and those were just. We just can't get that kind of stuff here. So that's all that I've had basically. Just mind blowing things from his secret stash. That's perfect.
So what was that then? 'Cause I saw photographs of you and Garrett recently. So
Me and
were
Garrett,
you
I
doing
did
an
a
event?
selfie with Garrett. I didn't do that. Come on.
I saw pictures of you and Garrett.
Hey guys,
He's even put his hat on for you and everything.
we've just been in a selfie with her. She's been taking selfies of herself with us
Yeah.
up here. So we're in the same box as Garrett
You
Oliver.
saw.
So
Well,
My phone died, but it's gonna be on the Instagrams. No, he was here for just, I don't think there was a reason why he was even here. I have no idea. He just was hanging out for a week and did a whole bunch of events, and my friends were people that were planning it and hosting him, and they're his go-to here, and is now the entire European regional ambassador for Brooklyn, which is exciting because she's a girl and she's American and she's beautiful and all those lovely things. So we just did a whole bunch of tastings and events and drank, just like Sriracha Ace, Purple, Violette, all kinds of crazy concoctions they've been working on. So yeah, it was wacky.
So anything in particular?
But then, like, this is what I'm drinking
those
tonight.
ridiculously. Oh, what are you drinking at the moment? Malt Subite.
Malt Subite. That's like, it's like €1 here. It's basic. No, whatever.
Yeah.
And then this.
Quite,
I found this
quite
funny.
sweet, like really.
It's super sweet. It's super sweet. I found this recently down in Orléans, which made me laugh. It's called Le Ghoul, which means like the ghoul. I don't know. And it's an organic thing with an ugly man with a rainbow behind him. So it's probably not going to taste good, but that makes me laugh. Yeah, we can't. The beer selection here is kind of limited or really, really expensive. So yeah.
Have you tried that Bellsbeth extra strong beer? It's like 11.8%.
Mm-mm.
No, that's that. I called it the world's worst beer or something. It was terrible. It was
The world's worst beer.
Yeah, it's Bellsbeth extra strong. It was called. It was in a 500ml can.
Oh god. No, usually I avoid things that say extra strong.
Yeah.
The big thing here to avoid in France is any of the beers that call themselves blonde, brune, ambré. The colors. If a beer is calling itself, what style is it? It's a color. That's probably the beer that I avoid. So extra strong. That's one of those other ones where it's like it's not a style. It's just telling you like there's stuff in the can. And you're like, good, great.
You're gonna get fucked up when you drink this.
Basically, it'll fuck you up. There's things in here. You're like, okay, good, great. Nope, I'll pass. Well.
So at the end, Jack, what's in your glass? What's been good recently as well?
Cool. So I'm drinking a Swedish beer. My mother's just been up there and brought me back. It's Södra Almighty by Södra Malt Fabriken Brewery. It's really not good, actually. It smells catty, it smells peaty, and it's tasting like malt. So I assume it's really old, but she bought it in Sweden. So it's 28th of July 15, so I imagine it's quite fresh. Shame.
Is it really expensive? Sweden's like super expensive too, right? All their
stuff. It wasn't when I was out there. It wasn't too terrible. They had a good selection in the kind of government-owned liquor stores. But yeah, it wasn't exactly cheap. But I'd have to shout down to my mum and ask her if this one was expensive or not. But I've also got a friend kindly donated to me.
Wow!
Nice.
Oh, look at you!
Which I can't wait to try in a bit. But I might. Who knows? Depends how well the night goes. I might crack it open on screen, or I might wait and do a review.
What year is it?
Yeah, what is this vintage?
1999.
1999.
Not bad, right? I couldn't believe it. This is a guy who's on one of our beer schools. He just said, "I know you really like your beers and you do the reviews," and he said, "I've got this that I've had for years. Have it." Like, you shitting me? Really? That's pretty good.
Sitting around.
Yeah. There's an advantage to running a beer school and teaching people how to homebrew, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so.
But apart from that, other things that I've been drinking have been frequently less and less. It's the most... we're expanding massively at Atom at the moment. We've just got 2 new tanks coming in, a new unit next door. So actually, I genuinely mean it. It's been 24/7 working, brewing, everything. So I've not had much chance to do anything. We had a big celebration night last Saturday. Had stuff like we had like a bottle of brewery fruit, some black metal brewery stuff, and loads of Scottish things that we brought down from a kind of event up there. And they were all reasonably quite good. The black metal brewery's stout, rice stout, was pretty damn good, if you ever see that around. And then this weekend I'm down in London. Shameless plug, forgive me, shameless plug. Come see this face. come see this space down in Craft Beer Co. Covent Garden for a Meet the Brewer night. Ask them if you fancy it. I will ply you with my brand new sour beer, my first commercial sour.
A sour beer.
Yeah, lactobacillus fermented brown ale called our Bunsen lacto fermented. So, yeah, plug over.
Congratulations.
So do you know who else is in London this weekend?
Me. Oh! Awesome. I shall see you there, sir.
Well, Matt, it wasn't on the list.
Party without me.
Well,
get the Eurostar. You can come over, right?
Yeah, they're in 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
No
Oh, brilliant.
yeah, so, sorry, go on, Jack.
Sorry, what was that?
That's
Go on,
it.
what were you saying?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, sorry.
All right, cool. So I've just finished off a bottle of Siren's Love of Work, which is supposedly brewed in collaboration with Hill Farmstead. But apparently what it was, Ryan Witter, who's the head brewer at Siren, went to Hill Farmstead and brewed a beer called Works of Love. It's a hoppy blonde ale with Earl Grey. It's decent. It's all right. I know Simon posted his video earlier this week. Brewdog's restorative beverage for invalids and convalescents.
Oh, the CAMRA beer.
Which I thought that is absolutely fantastic. Rob, up there with maybe I hardcore you as the best IPA Brewdog's ever brewed. Really good. And then I've got this. This is the slow burner for the night. Is Stone Imperial Green Tea IPA collaboration with.
Yum.
That's not very old either, is it?
No, not.
Was that in the Brewdog bar you picked that up, Rob?
No, I was just saying before you came on, there's a new bottle shop opened like 3 minutes from my front door, and they had it there. So that's not bad going.
North, that's it. I'm moving up north.
Hey.
Specifically Shipley. So, but stuff what I've had recently, I mean, that's just really good having Wayne on because I picked up the Beer O'Clock Show box, which is all kind of specifically selected beers, I presume by Wayne and Janice and Sarah and Ian for Series 6 of Beer O'Clock Show, which is all Irish beer. I mean, there's this emerging scene in craft beer in Ireland, and everything I've had so far has been really good. So far I've had Foam and Fury, which I guess is the big one everybody's going crazy for. And mid delivery was delayed because they didn't have any and they were waiting on a fresh batch, so it's fresh as you like. And it's a massive Simcoe kind of like monster. Really impressive that. Even I'm not a massive Simcoe fan, but that was really good. Rust Bucket from a brewery called Kinniger, which is a rye ale, which is really good again. Not too heavy on the rye. It's not kind of like soupy and too peppery. It was really nicely done. That still really nice and hoppy as well at the same time. And then the Double Irish from 8 Degrees, fantastic. Reminded me of hardcore IPA, but probably a little bit better. I mean, a bit more drinkable, not as heavy going. So that was really impressive. And so I've still got a load left. In the Beer O'Clock Show periodically. Ian, Wayne, Janice, and Sarah are going to appear on Beer O'Clock Show and do a different beer. So I'm going to keep all the other ones. But the one what I've got left, which I haven't opened, which was additional to my order, is the O'Hara's, which is a barrel-aged stout.
The barrel lane full on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good, man. That's like my Christmas beer every year.
Oh, right, cool.
Like the standard version of it. That's
Christmas beer every day.
Can I ask Wayne a question?
Yeah.
The Foam and Fury IPA, is that one of your favourites from Galway? I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it is one of my favourites. It's kind of evolved a little over time since it kind of first burst on the scene in 2013. I think they had trouble getting the hops they used with the first couple of batches, so they had to substitute some of it out. But it's still like I think Rob described it as kind of the crown prince of Irish craft beer. But there are a number of challenges now on the double IPA side. Rob had the full Irish as well. I have a couple of bottles on the double Irish. A kind of playful play on words with the tax arrangements and Google and all that over here as well. But I think, Chris is like a 24, 25-year-old head brewer, and he's absolutely no fear. They've just brought out a special Dortmund lager, which is about 6%. I had a taste of it there the other night. You know, they've stayed away from lager for a long time, and they finally brought one back into the bars, and it's really, really good. But they have that route to market as well. They've got 10 pubs across the country. They'll have 11 by the end of next month.
Right.
So they have that, and plus you can get all the beer in bottle now, apart from the special stuff, which is in the pubs only.
Cool. So, throughout the night, I mean, if you've got any questions, you've got any subjects you want to bring up, just say. But I mean, just for starters, I mean, I was thinking about this for the last one, what we did, and I never brought it up. Recently, CAMRA announced their kind of best pub in Britain. I mean, I can't remember where it is, and chances are I'm never going to go. But I guess, I mean, it's kind of like beer evolves, and kind of like the beer scene kind of changes in a lot of ways. And I mean, there's a lot more beer bars now. Once upon a time, the realm of the beer drinker was always the pub. So I just wanted to ask the group really, because I think we've got a real kind of cross section of people. What makes a good pub for you? I mean, it don't have to be a pub; it can be a bar. But where you drink, what are the characteristics that kind of like? Is it the atmosphere? Is it the beer? Is it the? I mean, there's a lot more to it than just kind of the stuff in your glass. But what is that kind of like defining factor that makes a good pub or a good bar or whatever for you?
Well,
who wants to go first?
Yeah, can I go if you want, Yeah. Well, for me, what defines a really good bar, a really good pub, is actually defining the barriers really quickly when you set up the bar or pub. I think in business in general, to be frank, the keep it simple, stupid rule really applies when it comes to things. Hi, Harry. Hi. Keep it simple, stupid theory applies. From working in Checkers, a real ale bar, a pub in Beverley that just sells real ale on hand pour and draft ciders and stuff. What kind of defines it apart from other pubs in the town that serve real ale? This place that has 12 lines on, for example, which is way more than we've got. We've got 5. Is the fact that it's simple. It's 5 lines of well curated, well looked after beer. There's no music, there's no games, as in like slot machine games, all that sort of stuff. It's just conversations, no Wi-Fi, things like that. It's just as simple as you can get. It's conversation and good alcoholic beverages, and that I like that with Checkers. I think that's really cool. Would I have something like Checkers though? I couldn't say. I don't think I would actually, which is ironic. But it's won loads of awards, at least with CAMRA, for being just what it is and doing what it does really well.
So you said no Wi-Fi.
Super cool.
How do you check into Untapped?
3G, mate. 3G. It's the modern age.
What's the point in going out drinking if you can't
Like,
check
that's
in?
your priority number one. You're like, wait a minute.
Whoa.
To make real friends, you have to actually cheers real people.
Do you know what the worst? The worst thing is, it's got so bad for me behind the bar. Like, because Ian, the landlord's the worst for. He's always on his iPad on 3G. But my 3G on my phone's terrible, despite being Apple branded Magic stuff. So bad that I said there's actually a lingerie shop next door, and I said, right, we've got to cause a distraction. I'll sneak in the lingerie shop and steal the Wi-Fi code from the bottom of the router just so I can get Wi-Fi. Stick my head in. But yeah.
Go on, Nick. What makes a great pub for you? What makes a great pub for you?
Oh, you know, I've done actually a lot of thinking about this recently. Jamie Oliver and the Craft Beer Channel boys have been doing that hashtag. Show us your local. Are you guys gonna do this? Anybody? Yeah. See? And I watched theirs, and they're like really. No, you're not gonna do it. I'm totally gonna do it. I'm working on it right now. Okay. It's gonna be. Well, the thing is I got like a couple friends who are helping me do it, and our video's turning out to be real artistic. Like it's turning, and because it's Paris, what are you gonna do? They want black and white cutscenes, maybe some boobs. I don't know. Like, it's important. But it's funny because like for like the things that they were showing in their video of like what's important. I don't know not at all what we have going on here, which is funny. In Paris, we have really, really limited, mind you. In like the entire city, there's like 7 craft beer bars. and maybe 10 places that also sell craft beer. So to call a place a craft beer bar is like really kind of difficult in general. And there are places like down my list that I find different, great for different reasons. Like we have one place called Express de Lyon, and it's right by one of the train stations. It's a real straight out French brasserie. It's got like the guy in the tablier who is kind of like a chain smoker and hates you and brings all your things cold and late, but is really great as a person. But they have really shitty beers next to like Mikkeller and to Uhl, but their food is fantastic. Weird stuff like that, which is one of my favorite places just because it's super authentic. Day and night, they're open early in the morning. You can go there for coffee and just stay all day, which I do sometimes. But I think something that's really important for a pub is that authenticity value, right? Because when you go to places that are really structured, like we have stuff here called the frog pubs, and they're frog and roast beef. They're like an English pub thing, and they're just really commercialized. You know, like Ken said before, they have like board games, and I don't know, they do burgers, and it's just kind of too not real to an extent. So I don't know. I think probably like my absolute favorite is we have one place here called the Toilette, and it's like a rock and roll, partial gay bar, whatever they want to do kind of thing. They just totally rock out, and they only have 8 taps, and they sell wine as well, but they'll tell you to fuck off if they don't like you. They've got weird art around the place, and that's like the spot all the beer geeks go. I don't know. We'll see. When I have my video out, then you can that's what it'll be, I guess. Yeah.
So next on the line, actually, if Harry hasn't realised it, the question was, what's the perfect drinking establishment for you? Is it a pub? Is it a bar? Is it what are the intrinsic values of the perfect kind of like drinking establishment? So I may as well go for you while you're here. Harry Meadows, the beer guy, for everybody who's not known before or everybody who's watching. If you watch this before, you've seen he's a regular. So what's your kind of favourite pub, favourite bar?
I think it varies for me. It varies on where I am, time, and the time I feel. If I'm in the city, it's got to be like I'm only in there for probably about 2 or 3 hours at a time, so it's gonna be a little bit different. If I'm out where I am now, it's a little bit more homely, it's a little bit more pubby, traditional. But I don't know what I prefer. I've been thinking to myself, what's my kind of, what do I really prefer in a bar? What do I want to see? Do I want to see, like, for example, what Brewdog have? Video games, board games, so much other things to do when you're in a bar. Or do I want to see just, snooker tables like I have at my one, which is a little bit different, I suppose, but it's a bit more traditional.
What? A what table? Wait, what was that? A snooker table?
Snooker tables and darts boards. Most sensible pub games for drunken people.
Right, darts. Sensible.
But yeah, I don't know. What I enjoy is the comfort. It's got to be a comfortable sort of space, and it's different to bars, really. Bars for me work in cities, don't work in suburban areas for me. But yeah, it just varies for me on what I feel like at the time of day. If I'm out here, it's just nice and casual, comfy sofas and comfy space. But if I'm in a bar going out on one night, then it's got to be pretty simple bar stools and everything, like not designed for comfort, just designed more on whatever beers are available. But when it's outside here, it's a little bit like our comfort, and the lesser beers are all right.
So Wayne, and obviously Ireland is famous for the crack. And obviously there's a load, but there's a load of kind of traditional pubs and stuff. But obviously with this kind of the boom in craft beer, obviously people are going to follow the successful model, and the successful model of whether it's right or wrong, which is kind of debatable, for a craft beer bar is Brewdog. I'm sure there'll be a lot of that. You mean I remember seeing Stuart doing some videos from the Pothouse place in Dublin as well, which is it's quite barry, but it's also got that pubby kind of like feel to it as well. So I guess there might be a bit of a split of, probably like there is in England actually. I mean, there's traditional, but I guess we might be a little bit further on, especially like in London, where it seems every unused unit or railway arch appears to be either a brewery or a bar at the moment.
Railway arches are still in right now.
It's ridiculous. So so I remember seeing you actually did the Jamie Oliver thing, what Mitch was just talking about. I read that yesterday, so I know the answer. But I know what your favourite pub is, but what do you prefer? Do you prefer that kind of craft beer bar approach? Or
Well, I suppose the Irish market's very different to the UK because the licensing laws are very archaic over here. Like to get a new license on a premises, another pub license has to be extinguished. So there's only a finite number of licenses available at any time. So there's a massive difference in your suburban or commuter belt kind of pubs versus what you would find in, say, the major urban areas like Dublin, Galway. Undoubtedly, the pubs that are having the most success are the guys that do decent food, the guys with a decent range of beer, and good staff. Like staff is a big enough reason for me not to drink in the place. Like I suppose the formula, if I take Galway Bay Brewery as an example, with 10 or 11 pubs that they have in place now, there's a couple out in suburban Dublin which are very different feel to their city centre bars. The city centre bars are a bit more beery. They're not as necessarily comfortable, but they have that kind of, the Jenga board games going on. There's no TVs in the main bars in the city. There might be a bit of ambient music, but then the pubs that they have out in the suburbs are a little bit more comfortable, where you could kind of sit and drink a cup of coffee if you wanted. I suppose, like Rob alluded to, I did an article on my favourite local boozer. I suppose making it to be extremely local, but what makes it a good pub for me is you're able to, the bar staff, when they've got something new into, they'll say, look, we've got something new in, do you want to try it? That you're actually engaged. And I think it's a really simple concept to, it's very hard to hire the right people. But I think if you actually have, enthusiastic people that are able to engage in conversation, there's actually nothing worse than being in a pub, particularly in Ireland, because like a barman's always kind of been like a priest to be hearing your confession at the end of the Saturday night. But your best friend at a certain stage that you kind of need to be personable, and I've actually been turned off some of the better known pubs in Dublin due to the staff not being that friendly. You kind of feel like you're getting things chucked at you because the cost of beer in Ireland is well documented to be quite high. But I suppose what I want to see in a pub is like, I do like it to be comfortable. I do like to be able to sit and talk to my friends. If I want to go and watch a football match, there are pubs or bars I can go to for that. But most of the time when I'm going out to have a beer, I'm out to socialise with friends and have a bit of a laugh in that way. So that's what I kind of look for.
Simon, I mean, you've got actually quite interesting Simon's response, because obviously as a family man, I mean, his time dictated that he can only sometimes go to places where, like Wetherspoons and stuff, where kids are welcome, but at the same time he'll happily sneak out and visit his local Bruno bar as well. Yeah. So I guess it's. For me, it's like, which do you prefer? It's kind of like, do you like what what Brewdog offers? Because that's very new to I know your area. You always felt like the craft beer revolution was coming quite late to Wales, I guess.
It was.
It's very much arrived now. So what's your kind of preference?
As you mentioned, if I'm out with a family, then it's going to be your kind of Green King pub where they got family areas for the kids to go and play, and you can enjoy a few beers and maybe watch a football. But I think the other side of it is, if I was to go out on my own, it would depend on what kind of mood I was in. If I was in a historical mood, I'll go to a really old pub. I'll have a look at the history, when it dated back. Is it on a Burgish plot where it's only 13 foot wide, and it's kind of a long bar, and you have a look at its history. But I'll always kind of gravitate now towards Brewdog. I just feel really comfortable in there. As Rob mentioned, the craft beer scene opened its doors to Wales. I think when Brewdog came here, it was great as you've probably seen, the channel has kind of progressed a little bit with the beers I can now get just 7 miles down the road. And you can have great food as well. The burgers are... I was with Rob back in August, and I got to be honest, I don't mind saying this on air, back then I thought, wow, £10 for a burger? I was thinking to myself, blimey, that's kind of like extortionate. Only because we had a McDonald's next door to the hotel. We went there. We went to McDonald's as well. But I recently tried a burger in Brewdog Cardiff, and it blew my mind. So the food, the beer, if you want to buy a growler and come away with a growler, everything's great. Everything works. And I can take my kids there as well, because they got a Nintendo 64 in the basement. And they got a Nintendo 64.
He's a wonderful
Keep your kids in the basement with the kids.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I wanted as a kid, yeah.
Job done. It ticks all the boxes, yeah. It really does.
So what is it you like about your experience in Brewdog then?
Just a variety of beer, really. And the keg beer. It's all about the keg beer for me. I've been drinking cask ale for around 20 years. And for me, I think it was like, all right, you got your Carlin, your Heineken, your Fosters, all on keg, but craft on keg, as we spoke about it last month, is absolutely fantastic. It's another beer completely for me.
Cool, Peter.
Yeah, well, we don't really have the same. We don't really have the same pub tradition as you guys do in the UK. So we don't have that whole thing of just going, in the middle of the day and having a few beers and stuff like that. Mostly here, the drinking culture is like you go out with your friends on a Friday night, and then you would go to a bar or whatnot, and that's how it works. But as for me, what I really like in bars is definitely a place where you feel comfortable, and especially a place with a good selection. Like where I live, I mean, Copenhagen is like beer heaven, but where I live, it's not a desert, because you've seen me review really good stuff, but as bar-wise, it has been kind of a desert. We only had like 3 or 4 bars that were geared towards beer, but they weren't craft beer bars. They were more so, traditional English pubs, and they'd serve like, your average traditional cask ales, and that was really nice, the cozy setting and all that stuff, but the whole thing for me, I really dig the, McKellar style beer bars with tons of taps and various stuff to try. I really dig that, and maybe if you're in Copenhagen, you don't really have that, as you guys were talking about, the personal thing going on with the barman and stuff. But
would you go to that every day? Would you go to the McKellar bar every single day?
Well, probably not just the McKellar bar. Probably mix it up with some of the others. But the selection of, like, you don't have traditional. You have a few traditional pubs in Copenhagen, but most of them are 100% focused on craft beer, the new ones that are there. So like all are different variations of. Well, they're not very they're McKellar type bars, but not all are designed, the same way. They have the same basic idea of the taps and everything. But probably my go-to favorite place, if I wasn't in Copenhagen, is a place called the Fermenter, because it's a cool place. It's similar to McKellar, but it's more so relaxed and stuff. McKellar is very Scandinavian design and white walls and whatnot, whereas the Fermenter is more rock and roll attitude with posters of Rolling Stones and Iron Maiden on the walls, and they blast metal once in a while. That's what I prefer. So for me, that'd be the ideal pub, because you have that kind of cozy setting, which I enjoy, but also a sick selection of beer. We don't really have that here, but because it's like split into 2. Because usually when we find rock and roll type bars, you'll only get macro shitty beer, at least in my city. So like for where I live, my favorite bar has to be a place called Basement Beer Bar, which one of my friends started, which I basically know everyone behind the bar and stuff, so you have the social aspect, and the place is brand new, so there's still room for improvement. I mean, they don't have board games or anything, but it's a nice place to come and have a few different beers with friends, and the bartenders and stuff. You can have a nice chat with them. So
What about
the
when this
idea-
place opens?
Huh?
What about when this place opens?
Did you get a membership?
There you go.
War Pigs Brew Pub. I want that.
3 Floyds Nicola. Yeah. Pretty cool, right?
Oh yeah. That's one of the things I'd love to see more of in Denmark too is brew pubs, because traveling in the U.S. I love the idea of the brew pubs around there. You can go get some awesome food, because most bars here you don't get food. It's just focused on like beer. But I really love that you come and have some really good food, some beer brewed at the place. That's awesome as well. And yeah, I think that's really cool. But yeah, War Pigs is gonna be sick. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. It's not open yet, is it? Can't wait though. I've not got one of their trooper things or anything, but I got a T-shirt because it's a cool ass T-shirt. Hopefully, when I go to CBC, I'll spend a lot of time there.
Oh yeah.
Recovering before you go back to the next day CBC.
Topping up.
Yes, topping up. That's it. Personally, I'd say, I think everybody's made some really valid points, and I think I'm going to steal from a lot of you. I think Nick's really hit it on the head. Authenticity. I don't think you can fake it. How London is at the moment, it's because so many new places are opening up, and there's a lot of people trying to cash in on this thing.
We've got it going on here too. You can see it happening. It's kind of freaky.
And some places do it well. I think you know when the people who are behind it are doing it for the right reasons, and I think without thinking about it, I think I just gravitate to those places. And for me, nearest big city for me is Leeds. Bradford, but there's not a hell of a lot of Bradford. It's improving, but it's not as exciting as Leeds is. Like North Bar in Leeds, it's been there for 18 years. It's always been a bit kind of exclusive, but I guess I've been going in there for a long time, so I feel welcome, and I'd say that's a really big part of it. Feeling like, it's not like it's a bit like Cheers. If somebody knows who you are, if Jim's working, he'll always greet me with like, "Hey, it's Rob from Hobzine." Thank you.
That idea though of feeling welcome is just so important though.
Yeah.
Because I boycott a bar locally because I was kicked out by the owner because I talked badly about a shitty beer, and he heard it. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he was a British guy, and he was very angry, and he yelled at me. And then I talked to other people who apparently, through my beer friends here locally, who had heard similar stories of him throwing out random people for saying opinionated things about beer that's not actually his, but beer he sells.
Yeah, well, that's a very much a British thing as well. If you'll criticise the landlord's beer despite how terrible it is, and you'll never admit to how terrible it is. So so for me, feeling welcome. But the places like Northern Monk, which if I ever get around to doing the whole shows your boozer, your whatever it's called.
Shows your boozer.
What's it called? I don't know.
Show us your local. Your local.
You said boozer.
Did you say your boozer?
Okay. Yeah, boozer. Boozer. It's your boozer. It's not boozer.
Show us your boozer. We should do our own.
That's going to be the real. That's the new name of this.
My local is one thing. I don't want to get too drunk there because that's my local. But my boozer is totally different.
Yeah.
Get smashed. Yeah.
That boozer. Would have been Northern Monk, which it's a brewery. It's an on-site tap room and kitchen. Fantastic, very much in this kind of new style, slightly kind of industrial, but authentic. It's the people who work there know the stuff. I've done a few events there, so I feel welcome there. They're kind of but it's not an exclusive place. It's like if you don't know what's going on, you don't feel like you're out of place. You don't feel like you can't have a lager because the lager that they serve is really good. And they'll take the time to kind of talk people around. I like Brewdog. My local Brewdog bar's great. It's the smallest one. It's the worst performing one. If you look at Brewdog stats, Leeds sells less than everywhere else, which is a massive shame. That's mostly because it's the smallest one. It's tiny, but the great thing about it is the staff are all really friendly. There's a really small team of people who've been there for a long time, know the stuff, friendly, and it doesn't. When it's quiet, it doesn't feel empty. But when it's packed, I mean, you can barely move, but it's got that. You feel there's a personal edge to it. So yeah, I think feeling comfortable, obviously, and then range. I mean, I'm not gonna go anywhere where it's got a shitty range. So that's a given, though. I mean, I'll walk in, and if you haven't got anything worth drinking, I'll walk out. I've got no shame in doing it.
We went for a night out around Leeds not so long ago. There's like a group of friends of ours, and I'm notorious for going into a place. If I don't see someone I want, I'll go out. It's just me. And I've got no bones about people staying. I'll just be like, right, I'll see you guys later. I'll go next place or something, right?
You're so epically mean.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That is beer snobbery.
You guys,
Beer
I'm
snobbery's
going
best.
over here.
But the best thing is it really pisses off my friends, so it makes me do it more often than not. So if there's something I'll compromise on, I won't even bother, and it pisses him off. And every time I walk out, it's like, he's done it again! He's done it again! He's walked out of a bar without ordering anything. It's so rude! No, it's not. It's just me being honest.
You know how to solve this. You know how to solve this. I've solved this because I have this problem all the time. Because I don't really drink to get drunk. I like the things that I put in my mouth. So I like to taste good things. So there's nothing good. Then people will start yelling at you because you're not drinking, and there's that whole thing. So I've started carrying the beers that I like in my bag. It's not that hard. And it's like, oh, by the way, I like craft beer. And they're like, what is craft beer? I'm like, oh, it's here. Would you like some? They're like, yes, thank you. So not only did you get to drink craft beer, but you drink good craft beer at a bar and it's free because you just bought it. Like, everybody else is drinking like expensive cocktails, and I'm like, no, this is delicious. It works, and you make friends.
That's too clever.
You couldn't do that here, though. I think you'd be kicked out by the bar for bringing stuff in there.
Yeah, you'd probably not be looked at too well here either. You might just get away with it, but I don't think it'd work.
No, and here everyone is so suspicious of everyone, so they probably think like you're some kind of creeper trying to get attention. Like, hey, try this beer, eh?
I'm a master of the hobbits, drink my beer.
Just imagine.
I try to convert people, I guess, all the time. So that's
See, that leads me on something. What I often find myself having this kind of itch to kind of interact with people, especially in bottle shops. I go in a bottle shop a couple of times a week, and it's when you see some, especially where I work in York, it's a massive tourist destination. The bottle shop I go in has got a really good range, but primarily what they sell is weird, tacky shit or local stuff. Because it's such a tourist spot, you'll go in, you'll buy a couple of bottles of beer for your uncle. It's got a silly name, or it's got it's a recognisable. Or it's like York Brewery sells loads. It's crap beer, but you can get Mikkeller and Stone and some incredible beer in the shop, but people will kind of go for the rubbish. And often I'll find myself in there. I think when people are kind of hovering around slightly disappointing stuff, I have those pangs within me to kind of go, well, do you know what? The staff in there are okay. There's one guy who's great. The rest are a bit disinterested. But I really have to stop myself because I think some people aren't that bothered. But I think it's the craft beer evangelist within me that I have this urge to kind of do this, but I must stop myself. I think I have areas that I feel I can do that, and I will do that. But
people appreciate it though. Come on, man.
Not always. I don't know if they do always.
No, some people.
Excuse me, sir.
Might I recommend a Canción Creek? Yeah, that'll go well.
Yeah, here you go. Would you like me to help you open it?
Yeah, but I get that kind of first-hand as a
if I came with
bartender.
someone like that. You will always be. I think the only thing that creeps me out about that situation, is when I hear myself talking and realize I know infinitely more than everyone around me, and that's awkward. Like the store guy is like, "Excuse me, who are you?" And he's like, "Oh no, I just wanted to tell this man about German wheat beer because he was looking at the German wheat beer.
So I constantly get out of my depth when doing that because I go into beer reviewer mode rather than kind of like bartender mode when I'm working at the pub. So I'm going. There's wonderful notes of citrus and grapefruit in this, and it's got a real nice lasting bitterness. And people are like, mate, it's just a light bitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Last time we did this talk thing, I spoke about a local beer that I named and shamed, unfortunately, that had complex notes of butterscotch in it, which is a dash brewing fault, right? The beer geek inside me, again, I was looking at the side of another one of their beers, and lo and behold, there was another one. there was another one with like faults in it as well, which was precursor to ethanol. It's slipping my mind right now, but it's an apple and pear note, and it's pear drops. So it's like a note of pear drops. Yeah, thank you. That's it. Acetaldehyde, and it said with complex notes of pear drops and apple. Same brewery, by the way. And I was like, you've got to be joking me. So I just took all my effort not to write on the board. It's got brewing fault, and the brewers don't know what they're doing. You just got to realize sometimes people just want an easy, sessionable, easygoing beer. They want the beer with a funny name. They want the one that's called Knockers on the Doorstep because it's got a funny food-related name. They want that sometimes.
Knockers on the Doorstep.
There's about 700 beers like that in England, I'm afraid.
Really?
Yeah. Every other big brewery beer's got something to do with tits, to be frank. So.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
And in those situations, Jack, you mentioned you work in a pub as well. Like, do you guys send feedback back to the brewery and say, look, that last keg you sent us, there was something off with it, or?
But they intended it to be that way. It's like Corona being skunky. Corona's like, no, that's what we want.
That's what
we're going for.
Heineken, skunk. That's what you buy for, right? So it kind of depends, really. There's a few, like when we get a new brewery in, especially ones from kind of outside the area, we might give them feedback like that and say, it didn't go down so well. When it came, it was a bit old, or it tasted a bit, like it'd been light struck or cardboardy, blah blah blah. From a professional standpoint, I don't want to be overtly critical of other people's beers because people can be critical of mine, and it hurts, right? It's not nice when you hear people being critical, but that's life, and you get on with it. So sometimes the problem is quite a few of them are like the big local boys, and you really are treading on your own feet because they own some of the pubs. Yeah. They help us distribute. They do our bottling, and I can't exactly be like, you guys do really bad beer. And by the way, I'm that guy that gets my stuff bottled with you, so please be nice. But
it's
surprising. People drink it. People drink this stuff a lot. It's like the top selling stuff. Some of these beers that I have big issues with in that regard, and yeah. Learning to bite one's lip is an important part of working in the industry because it's like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and is the UK scene kind of clustered in the sense of like I was back in West Yorkshire there. I was there briefly. I was meant to meet Rob, but during the
you weren't meant to.
Myself and the wife went off to do a few brewery tours. Sam arranged a couple to Wharf Bank and Wharfdale, and I think we went to Ugly Brewing as well. Like, is the scene in the UK, like obviously London is one big cluster, but is it kind of clustered regions where, like in say West Yorkshire, a few guys that work together helping out with bottling and stuff, or is it kind of every man for themselves? So this does seem to be an island that I've noticed that there's there is a brewers organisation, but there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of collaboration or cooperative in the sense of let's all bulk buy the ingredients to get reduced costs. Like, does that kind of thing happen in the UK?
Yeah, somewhat. I learned how to brew at Brasscastle Brewery, who've just won gold medal for their IPA and for one of their cask porters, Burnout Smoke Porters. So well done, Brasscastle. Shout out to them. And I learnt with them, so I'm obviously really close to them. They're not too far away. So we help each other out occasionally. They're next door to Bad Seed in the same town, Malton. They have a joint tap room in Brasscastle's Brewery. Brilliant, right? So, yeah, there's collaborative. Northern Monk, who are fantastic, as Rob said. I know really well. Brian's a great guy, the head brewer there, and he's come and done a beer with us. So we collab a lot. I think East Yorkshire and West Yorkshire, the kind of craftier brewers have got really do get on with each other really well. More traditional brewers, I assume they get on really well, but I'm not particularly traditional brewer, so we don't tend to, it's like I don't know, you like football or rugby, should we say? Two sorts of sports that you like, and I like sports, but you like different things. So, us crafty brewers do like to help each other a bit.
I think it depends on the person. I mean, I think there are some guys at those big family breweries who are well up for being involved in the kind of more kind of progressive kind of like scene. I think there are a lot of people very much set in their ways and only interested in their little kind of island. But it's like somebody like John Keeling from Fuller's. I mean, John's happy to go everywhere. I mean, I know they're involved with the London Brewers Alliance, which has been going on for a long time. A number of years ago, he did beer up at Marble and stuff. It actually did some brewing and everything, instead of just sitting in a meeting with his suit on. And I've met John, he's a great guy. I mean, Simon's met him as well. And so I think it's the people who are actually interested in the art of brewing will continue to kind of express themselves. But I think you'll find some people who get to a certain lofty position and kind of forget it really and just end up being an ambassador or a head of a business more than a brewer really.
Well, Stuart Bateman has just opened a pub in our town,
Okay.
and he turned out to be the coolest guy, really. He came into Checkers, and I didn't recognise him at all. I was asking about local breweries and got in a conversation, and he came in much more as a business person. His father, who passed away recently, passed it on to him, but he turned out to be an awesome guy. So, yes, there is collaboration there too, but every rule's not steadfast, is it?
Yeah. But I mean, absolutely, a lot of guys I know, especially, I guess mainly, these guys like Magic Rock and Siren and Thornbridge and Hawkshead and I mean, all the kind of, they're all mates. I mean, they all go to the same beer festivals. They'll be all like everybody will be at CBC this year. I mean, there'll be Colonel and Magic Rock and Siren and Brody's and they're all mates and they all go and brew at each other's breweries and stuff. It's all good.
It's the same here with a lot of the craft breweries. It seems to be kind of like a tight-knit group of friends, especially like in the Nordic countries like Sweden, Denmark, Norway. It all seems like a lot of them are like a close-knit group of friends.
Yeah, if I just add something, when I was on a little brewing course 2 weeks ago now, it was one of the people from Peak Ales, and funny enough how close Peak Ales is to Thornbridge Brewery, and they do not get on at all. So it's just like to go against what you're saying a little bit, but obviously they're two different types of breweries, one's traditional, one not traditional, much more modern, but they just don't get on at all. It's quite interesting to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it not that you're not allowed in our club because I know guys at Buxton. I mean I know people at Thornbridge and Buxton are very close friends and stuff. Partially because of their past.
Yeah.
At once upon a time, Dom, who's the production manager, I think at Thornbridge, used to be one of the brewers at Marble with Colin, who's the head brewer at Buxton. And JK was one of the earlier members of staff. The staff Thornbridge ended up being the head brewer at Buxton before the original head brewer at Buxton, and now he's off doing this homebrew thing with JK. So I mean, I think it's these intricate kind of intertwining webs of
drama.
Kind of, you know me. I don't imagine drama. But if you look at, I don't know if anybody's watched a documentary called Suds County about San Diego, which is really good. It kind of pinpoints all this place opened, and this guy worked here, and then this guy who was a home brewer came and used to mill his grain here, and then he opened his brewery and he started working here, and everybody is kind of interconnected. It's incredible.
But as Nicole says, there's also a lot of drama.
Well, we have that here. Our community is really, really small. Everybody's super connected. Everybody knows everybody. And that's kind of how it is. It's like people that are doing things now started somewhere else. And then we have like brew pubs or things that are kind of opening that are outside our Beer Geek circle, which is weird. We all kind of get a little freaked out. Like, who are these people opening up a bar? Who do you think you are, German brewer guy? Yeah, it's weird.
We just have the similar.
Who do you know? You don't know anybody? Get out of here.
There's a guy who's opening up a craft beer bar in Hull, which would be the first one in Hull. Brilliant. But he's just turned up out of the blue. We don't know who on earth he is. He's putting in a 150 litre brew kit. It's like, whoa, that's totally awesome. But where have you come from? I have no clue who you are.
See, but it's not a bit pretentious if you're like, if I don't know who you are,
Yeah.
you can't be anybody. Whoa.
No, totally. Oh, not necessarily that. It's just you normally hear a rumbling somewhere, and I'd have been really cool to meet him or something. But I sent him an email. I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome. This is fantastic. I can't wait to see it." By the way, who are you? It seems really awesome. You know.
I think that's ingrained cynicism now, though, because I think people are beginning to see it as an opportunity for a quick buck. And anyone who starts a brewery, it's cash intense at the beginning, and it takes a long time to get your return on investment. You know, there's definitely a number of breweries over here you can attribute that to.
Does Simon have a question, by the way? Because I see he says I have a question.
Right. This could be a controversial one, this one, but
Oh Lord.
I know. I launched a video in a week. It was, as always, I never look at my research. I just go with it, and
Don't be so proud of your lack of research.
yeah, I just go with the video and I go, oh, this has got to be a dig.
Carol's in.
So it was the Restorative Invalids beer by Brewdog, and I generally thought that one there. I thought it was a dig at Brewdog because of the past and whatever.
And CAMRA, you mean?
And CAMRA. And the question I wanted to ask you guys, sorry Peter, sorry Leach, is do you think CAMRA have had their day? Because I had a lot of comments on that video kind of saying yes.
They're out. Forget about it. They're just old dudes who like flat beer. Fuck it. I've had nothing but mean people from these dudes every time. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Brilliant. So, starting with Jack. Go on, Jack, you start this. Has CAMRA had its day?
Oh, don't ask me, because I'm really opinionated on it. Oh, I'm going to shit on my own doorstep again. Right, so
Cancel your membership.
Yeah, well, I've got a membership for a start. Right, objectively, they did fantastic things for the brewing scene. They resurrected the entire brewing culture in England. They helped breweries get off their feet. They've really they have a massive network of members who put money towards great things like keeping pubs open, helping communities out, helping breweries out, spread news for us for free, do articles on us for free. My issue with them is I'm constantly butting my head against them, but well, not literally, constantly butting heads with them about things like they don't like me doing keg beer. They don't buy any of our beer to the local CAMRA festival, despite being the biggest brewery in Hull. They don't have any of our stuff there because we're too expensive, because they want us to sell our beer for an inferior price when the amount of ingredients I use is massive. Our beers are done by cost, and I get about a 10% margin. At 10% margin is nothing. Pubs get a 200% markup. So I don't think I'm being unreasonable with it. And it's not me who sets the price anyway, it's the boss, Alan. But I constantly bash my head against them, and they just don't seem to. It's like it takes them so long to move. You know, if the question gets asked today, in 3 years' time, the question will be answered, and the scene will have gone 10 years ahead. You know, in terms of their eyes, it seems really stagnant at the moment, and it's frustrating. And I want it to keep up, but it's not young. There's not much in the way of young membership. It's not very female friendly. It's quite sexist in some regards. Yeah. In fact, it's very sexist in some regards. It's not well, yeah, Niche will know. It just doesn't seem very inclusive of newer generations. And I mean, you saw their student campaign thing, which was like a woman in a bikini with 2 pints of beer, and it was like, "Come get pissed." And,
It wasn't quite that. It wasn't quite that.
All right.
What was that called? The guy who was doing the reviews. They were doing food pairing. There's all kinds of stuff. It's bad.
Sadly, I mean, do you know that horrible student thing, Jack? I mean, it was more of like a 1930s pin-up, but whatever.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, go on.
Sadly, the guy in that is my mate Neil.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Neil's great, and he's the kind of the he's the press manager for CAMRA.
Right.
And this is a weird thing with CAMRA. I mean, we are at the mercy of the members, and the members are a bunch of fucking morons. Which is the main issue. Everything that Jack said is absolutely spot on. Everything that they've done is great. We owe them a lot. I don't think we'd be drinking the beers we probably won't be drinking the beers that we're drinking now if it wasn't for CAMRA, because that's where the lineage starts. I mean, they saved it. They kind of brought it back. That creates inspiration. I mean, from my kind of knowing like Richard Burhouse, who owns Magic Rock, going in real ale pubs and drinking stuff like Dark Star Oped, and that very much inspired him to brew something like Ringmaster. If you don't have that, you don't have this. But the bad side of it is exactly everything that Jack said. It's backwards. It's regressive. They shouldn't. I mean, they don't need to acknowledge cake because that's not what they are. They are a consumer group about the preservation of cask ale. Brilliant. But there is progression.
Okay, we have a question. Which came first, though?
Which came first? CAMRA or
the American Beer Revolution? I mean, that's like really vague. But like, where does CAMRA fit into the progression of America?
There's a really good book. By a couple of you might be aware of. Do you know Balcom Bailey? Who do a blog in the UK? I mean, they're fantastic.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yep, read that. Yep, actually.
Writers Guild thing recently. They're both in Britannia. If you've got any interest in beer in the UK, buy that book. It just lays it all out there. And I mean, for everything that I'm sitting here drinking Brewdog and Partisan and Stone and all these fancy beers, which is great. But
fancy beers.
I think you've got to understand where it all came from. And there is an inception for it, and I think it's important to kind of understand that. And this is why I briefly got involved in my local CAMRA branch from reading that book and understanding the kind of the origins of CAMRA, which is quite active. There are a bunch of activists, really. I mean, it was all letters in the Financial Times early doors, and we're talking about late 60s, early 70s, so way before kind of what started happening in kind of America. Which is probably late 70s, early 80s, I guess, with Sierra Nevada and Anchor, I guess, which is kind of Anchor late 70s, 78, something like that. So, yeah, CAMRA did kind of very much precursor of it and preserved what kind of British beer is, which is great. But, yes, the issues are with the people, because the people are old guys who've not got a very progressive mindset. It's very kind of exclusive. Is the group? You don't feel welcome. And I tried my best. I was very much pushed out. I achieved great things for my local branch. I got national publicity for free. It was all completely thrown back in my face, and I turned my back on them. I said, "You don't deserve my time or energy." So. So fuck them. Yeah, I mean, there's good people and there's bad people, but sadly the idiots outweigh the good. And I would say in certain pockets, it needs to die before it'll ever get better. And it becomes, as I think Simon said, is like going at, it is becoming irrelevant. I mean, when there's like beer festivals. Like I guess stuff in Denmark has inspired stuff in the UK. CBC has kind of, and Bereft in the Netherlands has spurred on stuff like Indie Man BeerCon near me, Leeds International Beer Festival, and stuff what's happening in Ireland at the moment, like Altec. That's not CAMRA. That's the complete opposite. It's about everything that isn't CAMRA. So we don't need them anymore. It's on its own.
We just need to die so that we can make better ones.
And the thing is, they're all that old, they will all die soon.
I've had arguments. I had an argument in somewhere in France, I can't remember where, with a man who was a CAMRA member, and I had said, started doing my thing about beer and was talking about things, and I got actual quotes along the lines of, "But you're a girl." I said, "No, I'm a woman. Actually, I'm a woman. I'm an adult, first of all." And yes, and I know a lot about beer. Like, what is your question? He was like, well, I'm a CAMRA member, and he like pulled out his little card, and I was like, and yes, and what else? And we had this back and forth thing, that like polite rudeness, like, yes, but you are an asshole, aren't you? Like, you're trying to be nice, but what would you really know? You have a vagina. It was just the strangest thing, and it was horrible. It was really. We were nice. We were very nice to each other. But he was just rude. And even at the end of it, even after hours of conversation, the drunker we got, it didn't really help either. So I didn't really do anything. But he just was the entire time just settled on the fact that I was a silly girl and it was interesting. And that's nice. Okay, thanks. Cool.
Well, I was down in with Rob at the Great British Beer Festival, and we bumped into what seemed like the star of the show. They were pointing the cameras at him all the time. Who was it, Rob? The really old guy.
Roger Prost.
Roger Prost, that's the one.
Oh yeah, Roger.
Well, you mean
that guy! I've read that book.
We approached Roger Prost.
I didn't. You might have done.
I approached Roger Prost. I shook his hand and I said, "Nice to meet you." Blah blah. And he kind of was. His attitude was, "Who are you? I'm about to go on the TV, and I don't want to speak to you." And I remember speaking to Rob about 2 minutes after, and I said to Rob, "I can't believe what just happened."
Yeah, he's really nice.
Speaking to this guy, and he's almost kind of just turned his back on me and walked away. It's just so archaic. Every time I seem to meet somebody in CAMRA, they rub my back up completely the wrong way. And yeah. Anyway, Peter, what's your view of CAMRA from Denmark?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Putting me on the spot now. No, I actually don't know much about CAMRA. I mean, we have a similar thing here with the Danish beer enthusiast, but it's not to the same degree. I mean, it's a private organization that started to promote good beer, but it wasn't specific to UK culture or a Danish culture and bringing back like traditional Danish beer per se and stuff. It was just like bringing out the new breweries that were popping out. There seems to be like a counterculture towards them here as well, like with a new kind of hip beer geeks that goes to McKellar bars and stuff. Yeah. And then it seems like these guys are kind of like CAMRA because they're focused on the more traditional beer stuff. Like the English ales, they love their brown ales and whatever. And then you have the new scene, the guys making sours and imperial stouts with coffee and all those
stuff we actually want.
Beers. Yeah. And some of them really enjoy it, but then you also have part of the Danish beer enthusiast group who are like, nah, that's too weird and extreme and whatnot. But I don't know. It's similar, but not completely similar as you guys, and it's fairly young as well. It's not a super old organization. But my view of CAMRA, from what I know, they seem like a bunch of old guys who enjoy, their real ales, and they might have done good things back in the day for beer and all, but times change and everything changes.
But are they giving real ale a bad name? Because I mean, I know a lot of people in the States read the CAMRA on, they think they still have that. Oh, real ale is flat, warm, blah blah blah.
Real ale is
not. Yeah, and that's really what's still happening. Yeah. They're ruining it.
I guess so. And it's actually quite similar with the Danish beer enthusiasts, because they are usually middle-aged old men who are wearing these red vests with badges. And, like when you go to a festival, you can point them out like, oh, that's a Danish beer enthusiast. Oh, that's a Danish beer enthusiast.
We say a vest.
And it's kind of funny, but they did the first beer festival in Denmark, which was the Danish Beer Enthusiast Festival, which is still going. I believe Rob might be going.
I might be going, yes, yeah.
And there's actually good beer there.
I'm not going to CBC with all these trendies and their beards.
Hey, when I'm drinking dark Dark Lord from Kegline. I'll think you up.
The thing is, if you talk CBC versus Danish beer enthusiasts, CBC is more showcasing all the, top-rated Brewery stuff. While if you go to the Danish beer enthusiasts, the beer festival, you get to see many more Danish breweries. Because for the Mikkeller Beer Geek, or a celebration thing, it's mostly foreign brewers, and the breweries from Denmark who go there are mainly only breweries that Mikkeller has contact with, or does things.
So who is actually Danish at CBC this year? Mikkeller.
Tool.
Amager.
Okay.
They are awesome.
Amager.
They're so cool. They're kind of like the bridge between both the Danish beer enthusiasts love them, but also the new progressive, hipster beer geek whatever loves them. So they're kind of like the middle ground because they have a solid range of beer that everyone can enjoy, and then they brew crazy stuff. They currently make the best IPA in the country.
Do they export? Hammer? Hammer.
Amager.
It's the name for one of the islands, isn't it? That translates to Shit Island.
It's a region of Copenhagen, or suburb area of Copenhagen. But they put out some really good. They recently did their batch 1000, which is the best Danish IPA I've ever had. It is so close to the stuff you find in the U.S. I was so blown away by it. It was so good.
See, that's interesting. Interesting you say that because. As far as real ale and cask beer and stuff, for starters, people have issues with the term craft beer because that's a marketing term. Real ale is a marketing term. The two actual things are cask and keg. That's the only difference between it all. But there's a brewery I kind of discovered back in the last year called Badco in Knaresborough. Just absolutely incredible. They only brew cask at the moment. Their session ale called Comfortably Numb, 3.8%, I think it is. I would happily give a fresh glass of that to any jaded guy from San Diego, and I would be surprised if they weren't impressed by that. But that's because the guy who's brewing it is from a certain ideology. He's brewing ridiculously hoppy beer. I went to a festival last week, and I'm sure they were holding it off because it's not cleared that it's not dropped because he's got a shitload of hops in it. It's because it's really hoppy. And some of his beer is just absolutely incredible. It's same as beer. It appears traditional, but it's not really. But people overlook it because it's kind of maybe tagged in with maybe the wrong group. But at the same time, continuing from what Peter was saying, don't you think that Mikkeller, with the tool of CBC, I know it's to showcase all the fantastic stuff from around the world, but shouldn't he be championing a bit more of Danish beer? He is the kind of the icon of kind of Danish beer, really progressive Danish beer. Shouldn't he be the one who kind of moves it forward?
Moves the Danish beer.
Yeah. Instead of just looking at, I know total friends of his, employees of his as well. Which is great. I've met Tobias. He's a fantastic guy. But shouldn't they be picking as they pick the best brewers from around the world? Shouldn't they be picking every year a couple of upcoming really good Danish breweries?
Yeah. You're right about that. They should. And the thing is, a brewer like Amager Bryghus, I talked about, they go to CBC as well because they have close connections with Mikkeller. He's contracted through there and stuff. But a lot of the newer breweries that show up and start up here aren't invited. I don't really know if it's if you could call it Mikkeller's Friends Only Club or whatnot. But I think that would be appropriate. But then again, the festival isn't focused on showcasing new Danish beer. It might be called Copenhagen Beer Celebration, but the basic idea from the start off, from the get-go, was to have the Danish public or the people in Denmark try some of the very best beer in the world that they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else, except if they go to the bottle release at Firestone Walker for some beer or whatnot. Like have them try beer that they would never ever get to try. You know, I think that's the general idea. But yeah, it would be cool to see more Danish breweries and up-and-coming breweries. But I'm not sure if that will happen.
Just so you know. So just say, guys, I've got a dash. I've got to go to work and transfer a beer because brewing is the best industry to work in the world. But it's been a pleasure, Nitch and Wayne. It's a pleasure to meet you both as well. If you're ever up in East Yorkshire, both of you, come check us out in Hull. Yeah, don't come to Hull. It's not shit anymore, but it's.
Figure out where that is.
Do you work for the tourism board by any chance now?
Sorry?
Don't work for the tourism board of Hull by any chance now?
No, no, definitely not. All right, cool, guys. Pleasure to see you all. Yeah, catch you later, guys.
Bye.
So, anybody got a burning question they want to kind of like put to the group?
Harry, I wanted Harry to answer the CAMRA.
CAMRA.
Yeah, I think CAMRA, what do I find it useful for? Beer festivals. Getting my CAMRA card, I still have my CAMRA card, finding it useful for getting free entry to beer festivals. It is, I agree completely, it is an old man sort of thing. Where I am, it's just, I'm the youngest one by a long way, and there's just no point really attending, because the pubs we go to aren't, the greatest, they're just old boring ale pubs. For me, I'd like to see some sort of not CAMRA. I know CAMRA is all to do with bringing ale back and from the dead, really. I'd like to see some sort of regulatory body to craft beer, so we have like a more standardised beer festival. Because we don't really have a craft beer festival in Birmingham. We got one. There isn't really anyone's round me too much. It's all like CAMRA. I'd like to see a little bit more of that happen, but yeah, that's my views on CAMRA, really.
And Wayne, your views on CAMRA from Ireland?
There's probably quite a number of Irish members of CAMRA, because obviously they have a big festival in Belfast every year. I can't say I've ever gone to it. I suppose Ireland has its equivalent in Bure, in terms of their consumer kind of group, but their remit is to promote Irish craft beer, full stop. It doesn't matter if it's keg, bottle or cask, as long as it's like an independently owned brewery. They're under the revenue threshold for the excise rebate. So it's quite an easy definition to have. I suppose, like, from my point of view, like going back to the UK, I always love trying the variety of real ales that are available, whether at the cask or bottle condition or whatever. But, it's definitely get the impression from a few CAMRA members in the circles I mix in, and you definitely get the impression that they're like 2 generations ahead of me. So like their mindset's not gonna be changed by the new stuff that's coming up along. I think it's like different organisations or different people might have to step into the gap to suit that need, to kind of bring all the new wave of breweries that are coming through. While there's still a lot of guys, and it's the same in Belgium, they respect the traditions of the brewing styles, but at the same time they're trying something new with it. They're not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but they're doing something different. They're putting some fancy alloys on the car instead of just some steel rims. So it's just one of those things. What really pisses me off about the Irish beer scene in general at the moment is, like, everyone talks about the Holy Trinity. It's a pale ale, a stout, or a red ale. It's like, lads, unless you're actually making the best red ale or the best pale ale or the best stout ahead of all the other 70 breweries in this country, wasting your time, do something different. Like a new brewery launched recently, the first beer out of the traps is a chocolate orange stout.
Whoa!
Different, very different for a first beer. A second beer is going to be really interesting. And I think, the Irish market is quite immature, I think, compared to the UK and the US, in the sense that tastes have not necessarily broadened as much. But I think our taste for different and interesting beers is being served by imports. Like Punk IPA is probably still the best-selling craft beer in Ireland, comfortably. When we were up in Brewdog in August last year, I saw on one of the brew orders that they were actually brewing a full batch for Four Corners to distribute them over here. But Four Corners sell a ridiculous amount of IPA in this country. Until the Irish breweries kind of start picking up the standard And thankfully we're seeing some progress with the likes of 8 Degrees, Galway Bay, Waxif Kinsale, Bow Bristol. They're all trying different things. While they might have a couple of their traditional brews on the perennials to keep the regular conservative type customers who aren't there yet, but they're bringing out crazy stuff like Imperial Red Ales, double chocolate orange stouts, and all sorts of mad stuff, which you want to see. You want to see that experimentation, you know?
Mm. Creativity is important. I think that's the difference with CAMRA. Wait, I have a question. Can I become a CAMRA member just to like be an asshole? Like, am I even allowed to do that? How does
Probably.
one become a CAMRA member?
Yeah, you could probably. They'll take your money.
That's what I mean.
I don't know what your branch would be. What would your nearest branch be? Dover.
What's my nearest? How does one apply? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna.
Have an overseas category, I think.
The magazine's not bad. You see, everybody who works in head office, everybody who's in the inner workings of CAMRA are great. It's the people. It's the best of them. But one great thing, which I wish we had like 5,000 people watching this now, because anybody who's a CAMRA member can vote. I mean, in my local CAMRA group, if you turn up to a branch meeting, which I think is actually tonight, no, last night, there will probably be about 18 people. That in Bradford, in the Bradford district for CAMRA, there's over 800 members, and about 18 turn up at the meeting. And the dangerous thing is, and this is why I got involved at one point and another point, very few people have a say over a lot of people's livelihoods. That pub that wins pub of the season, pub of the year, it's based on the opinion of very, very few people. That's really dangerous because it goes in newspapers, it goes all over the place. We're CAMRA pub of the season, we're CAMRA pub of the year. And it does, yeah. It's
like
a waste
12 nomads who wear sandals and socks vote for a pub because it's where they all meet on a Wednesday night for a couple of pints. It's totally
exactly. But and I think it's a nightmare. Is that? That's exactly how it should be.
Well, like I know we've kind of ragged a bit on CAMRA, but like it has to be acknowledged that their role in kind of keeping a tradition alive, but at the same time, maybe they need to modernize how they do things. Like, you know, if as you said, in Bradford district, there's 800 members, but only 18 people have voted for this pub of the year malarkey, then it totally devalues for that pub that happens to win. Yeah. You know, it should be a prestigious award in a internationally recognised group for that section of the country to vote their pub the best in the area. Then it devalues the prize in the sense of it'd be like, you know, if everyone at the Oscars got an Oscar just for turning up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think just want to add something that Simon and I were speaking about the other day is the introduction of social media. No one in CAMRA does it.
No.
And that's what we were saying was just the thing that could draw so many members in and tell people when stuff's actually going on, because I have to look in like a newspaper that arrives once a month to see anything that's going on. I think social media would definitely help the cause.
That's funny you say that, because when I kind of got re-involved with CAMRA for maybe 8 months or something like that, one of the things I took on was the social media, because it was absolutely terrible. It was absolutely horrendous. You would not know how bad it was. And from because they do like a pub of the season, and it's like an announcement, and they have a presentation evening and stuff. And the one before we started, because you get all the stats and stuff on Facebook, that reached, I think it was 71 people. And then me and my mate took over, and we started getting a bit more active. And even as easy as, I think, how you word things, it's about kind of like, oh, come and celebrate so this pub winning the pub of the season. What a great excuse to have a couple of pints on a Wednesday night. It's how you word it and things like that. And then I remember I talking to Sarah Warman about how best ways to kind of like get people, how to interact with people, and the best ways of approaching various platforms and stuff. And when we posted it for I think it was the pub of the season for autumn, shall we say. That reached 978 people, opposed to 71 people. Because we were more active and we were more kind of like we were involved and people we've got, I think even at that point we had like 400 likes or something like that. So we're reaching 400 people. 18 people turned up to that meeting. Who's the powerful one?
Yeah.
And
I think what me and Harry were speaking about was in terms of what we're doing. I'll be honest on camera, I don't mind. I see myself as a little bit of an opportunist. I've seen a gap in what CAMRA are doing and what we're doing. And I think it'll be a case of when they eventually open their eyes and see what we've done, I think it'll be too late for them. I really do think it'll be too late. They'll try and open a YouTube channel. They'll try and open up Instagram and maybe whatever, Twitter and Facebook, but it's too late. I really believe it's too late. Our generation are a step ahead of the game. I think, Rob, you will become Roger Protz.
I know.
Oh no! That's horrible.
The interesting thing, Simon says that, but interesting thing, the T-shirt, the pierogi, the wafer biscuits is the English face of Polish craft beer is Simon, but Simon's friend Thomas Kuiper, he is essentially that figure, but in a positive manner. He is a kind of establishment. He is the face of, I guess, kind of progression within a very stagnant kind of like beer scene, which in a sense that's great. He is exactly what we need, that person, but sadly that person is, sadly for us, and I'm not being mean, but that's James Watt, and he's a businessman, and he's looking at business. But James is the spokesperson for craft beer in the UK, and whether you love him or hate him, he's a businessman, and he's looking after his brand. You need that independent person, and sadly we don't really have that independent person.
Really?
You think you're Come on now.
Wait, before it gets really late and everybody gets really drunk, I really want to know what everybody did for St. Patrick's Day, by the way, because I know, that's probably cooler over there than it is here. Or also, I, had to have conversations with my Irish friends about how, the American shot, the Irish car bomb, is not like funny. The Irish people don't really think that's funny. They're not amused by that. And then also there's been stuff in the media about how like in Ireland, the way that it's shown that the stereotype of Irish people drink heavily. Well, I don't know. Just go. Topic, go.
St. Patrick's Day. How did I celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
What did you do? I went to a really crowded pub.
Sorry, I'm just looking on Untapped to remind myself what I actually drank that night. I did something really annoying. I actually drank an Irish beer the night before because I'm not subversive.
You got that Irish beer thing though. That's why we got Guinness.
But I did have a stout that night, and it was Beavertown Heavy Water, which is a sour cherry sea salt imperial stout. Check that out. How craft am I?
You nerd. Nope.
Go on. Next person.
Yeah, next. What did you guys do? What did you all do? Didn't you do something? Wait, nothing?
No.
You just drink every day, so
it's
not cool.
Idiots in the UK.
Yeah.
Idiots go out with big hats on and drink Guinness.
Yeah.
And I would prefer never to. Yeah, it's got one. It's one of those people.
Not just limited to lads.
No, actually, we go to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Denmark, but the bars try to capitalize on it, and it's St. Patrick's Day, and hey, we have two bars try to capitalize on it. So I had a couple of beers with some friends, and they were like, "Let's go to St. Patrick's Day," and it was like, Okay. As soon as we walk in the door, hey, we got these. We walk up to the bar. It's like, so what do they have on tap? Guinness. That's green. Okay, let's go to the local bar instead of get Limfjordsborder.
Wow.
Limfjordsborder is like an iconic like porter here that is very nice. So I didn't get any Guinness, but I got a hat.
God.
I think we should go to the actual Irishman of the group. Wayne, what did you do on?
Yeah, Wayne.
Luckily, we all get the day off over here.
Really? We don't get day off on St. George's.
Serious?
Yeah, well, we just like partying over here more than you do. Let me see. The weekend before was actually Alltech was a couple of weeks ago, which was a truly international festival. We had, I think a good number of Irish breweries, but we had a lot of guys from Hungary, Austria, Spain, UK as well, like Thornbridge, Brewdog, CAMRA all over. But then there was the Irish Craft Beer and Whiskey Festival there in the RDS, and that ran from Friday the 13th up to Paddy's Day. So we were at that on Monday evening, tasting some good beers. My sister-in-law's actually birthday is on St. Patrick's Day, so like we all went out for a drink. She also got engaged, so it was all good fun.
Wow.
Stumbled home at some time, having to go for work the next morning, not much fun, but had plenty of good beers that day.
Was lots of stout drunk, or was it?
Yes, drank a few pints of stout early on in the day, and then I moved on to lighter stuff.
Orange chocolate stouts, orange chocolate.
Well, unfortunately, I could only get that in bottle. It's not on draft yet. But, yeah, like Patrick's Day is a bit of a weird thing over here. Like anyone who's been to Dublin knows about Temple Bar. Temple Bar was absolutely mobbed. Again, like all day, pretty much from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon onwards after the parade had finished. It was just full of people in big green hats. Like there's loads of articles online, and like, you can just see the madness that takes place. But generally, it's quite good natured. You like anything, you come across one or two that have had too many, but that's everywhere,
I'm going to take this moment to say goodnight, everyone. I got an early start in the morning. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, Simon.
Thank you, Rob, for hosting just a great night again.
We haven't finished yet. We're hardcore.
What's the book on how long it's going to run for?
No, well, you actually have to set yourself a limit when you set up the event.
Look at this sage knowledge. You know what I learned? You just set yourself a limit. Whoa.
I don't set myself a beer limit because I'm not working for 4 days.
So, Wayne, it was great to meet you. Nietzsche, it was great to meet you too.
Nice to meet you, man. For real, sort of, over the internet.
And, yes, sleep tight, everyone.
Yes,
oh, buddy.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
My mouse is all the way over here. Oh.
Still now.
It's
Great exit. Great exit.
He's so slick. Didn't you realise he's like...
How do you say goodbye in Polish? I always forget.
No idea.
No idea.
But yes,
I can say hello.
So Harry, Paddy's Day in the Black Country.
I'm not quite the Black Country. I'm not quite the Black Country.
I want to point out to Nick and Peter, the Black Country is a part of the UK. It's not like a weird racist thing.
What?
It's the Black Country. You'd like to explain what the Black Country is?
The Black Country, it's a place about 10 minutes away from where I live. It's called the Black Country because during the Industrial Revolution there was loads of smoke in the air, big silver factories, and thus the Black Country.
It's not some kind of dirty racial term.
What did I do? We have in Birmingham, we have the Irish Quarter, where I'm from, and we had the St. Paddy's Day celebrations festival parade sort of thing. That was on Sunday, because I was working all of Monday instead. And so I just had a couple of Beamish. We had Beamish Stout on, which is marginally better than Guinness, and had couple of pints of that before deciding to drive home, which wasn't the best idea, but I did it. Yeah.
Isn't Beamish made by Heineken or something like that?
Yeah, owned by Heineken, yeah.
Because I remember back in the day, there's like, as I said, these two bars that celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the Guinness sense, and then there's one bar which is, I think one of the two bars outside of the UK to have the cask mark by CAMRA. Actually, it's a nice pub, but they have like an anti-Guinness thing where they used to serve Beamish until they got bought up. I remember it as being good, but I haven't had it since. Because ever since they got bought up, they stopped getting it.
I think I've had that. I've had a couple of Irish beers, but when I was in Amsterdam over over New Year's, I had Murphy's Stout as well, which is marginally better than Guinness as well. I'm not saying Guinness is awful. I don't mind it, but it's just marginally better. But yeah.
Also owned by Heineken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's owned by Heineken, made in Cork. Heineken bought Beamish and Crawford there in the late 90s. So Beamish make Murphy's as well. You probably see it some parts of Europe. Murphy's Irish Red.
Yes, I had that once as well. Yeah.
Yeah, not absolutely horrific as far as macro beers go, I suppose.
Yeah, it's all that's available on Paddy's Day anyway.
Yeah. It's funny though, a lot of people here who doesn't know about craft beer think that stuff is craft beer because they don't know it's owned by a big corporation because they don't put it anywhere on the labels or anything. Well, on the back end with like very small typing and stuff. So a lot of people who are new to the whole scene, they come in and they think, that's not very enticing. And then they have something like that. But yeah, I'm not saying it's really bad like Murphy's and stuff, but you can get better. I mean, what they started to serve now instead of Beamish as that bar I was talking about is actually Porterhouse for St. Patrick's Day. They have like I think it's called Rasslers.
Oh, Rassler Stout, yeah, very good.
And then they have like
a group brewery as well. They actually have a bar in Covent Garden in London.
Oh, okay.
And one in New York. Two in Dublin City Centre, one in South Dublin, one in North Dublin, and I think they have one in. There's another one that I might be forgetting, but they brew their own range of beer as well. And Porterhouse Plain is a very good alternative to Guinness, but the Rasslers is very popular as well, particularly over Paddy's Day.
Yeah, they have like that one, and then they have a few others. I think it's like a red ale. I can't remember the name of it, and then something with something bomb or blasta or something like that.
Brain Blaster.
Yeah, right. That's
yeah, I think that's about 9%.
Yeah, barley wine or something like that.
I think it's an imperial stout. I'm not actually sure.
Okay. I can't remember. I haven't had it in like ages.
Like normally, like Porterhouse in Dublin, they have like two really big bars, but they've really improved their gas taps. They've started getting a lot more of the Irish breweries in. Like it's quite common to find like some of the small guys like Kinniger that Rob was talking about with Rust Bucket. Kinniger made an absolutely amazing black rye IPA called Black Bucket. It was absolutely sensational. You know, got a really good saison as well. But like the guy Rick who owns Kinniger, he's from America originally. Like where they brew is like right up on the northwest coast of Ireland, really rural. Tiny farmhouse brewery, literally like they've had to double capacity and everything because they've been doing so well, but it's really far out in the boonies, so to say.
Whilst you speak about that sort of area, because it's where my family are all from near tiny little place called Gortysluin, which is on the border between Mayo and Sligo.
All right.
Are there many microbreweries or breweries out there at the moment?
Let me see. Mayo direction, we've got Meskin. They will be based around Westport. They are, interestingly, two vets who started brewing.
Okay.
End up looking after animals, or I think they still brew and they brew at night time. But they kind of concentrate on the kind of Belgian style beers. They do the bells and things. Sligo actually have a great brewery in there called the White Hag, They're in Ballymote in Sligo. They brew a really good IPA called Bran and Scolon. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly because I never did Irish at school.
I'm gonna have to remember that though, because I've got I'm doing this beer event next week, and I've got bottles of that to share.
Oh, the White Hag stuff.
Yeah, the Brandon Scone.
Yeah, Bran and Scolon. They have some really interesting beers. Like they brought out a heather ale, a bog ale where they used peat smoked malts to make a kind of an imperial red ale. It was crazy, but their best beer was probably, like, they launched at the RDS main festival last year. They launched with a Black Boar Imperial Stout, 10.2%, hard, really thick and luscious and viscous, but it was just so smooth for a beer of that alcohol. They actually got in a brewer from Michigan, an American lad called Joe. He's moved to the west coast of Ireland to brew beer, and you know, the beer's coming out. You can tell he's got experience of working in a craft brewery. It's evident in even the styles of beer they're bringing out. Like their IPA is very, very, very good. It's very different to what a lot of the guys launched with. They actually launched with like 8 or 9 beers at the RDS last year because they're primarily focused on export. But then when they got such a good demand locally, everyone's like, we want your kegs, we want your beer. They had to quickly revise their production models and say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll kind of keep 4 beers coming to you guys all the time.
But you said, I remember reading your blog about that they primarily brew for export.
Yeah.
But so who are they exporting to? I mean, if they haven't established like a
New York.
significant New York. Okay. Oh right, because it's a fascination with it's an Irish brewery.
Well, you see, the thing is, like, the origins of White Hag would be, there's a local guy there who has a pub in Sligo who's involved, and then one of the other guys who came in is a lot of experience working in the US beer distribution industry. So he had all the connections lined up. Once they got the beer ready to go and get it exported, you know, they had willing buyers. They're not the first Irish breweries to export, and I think probably with the level of the market in Ireland is literally 1.5% of consumption is craft beer. Of that 1.5%, I would estimate 1% is probably Irish beer. The rest is probably imported. In the sense of, for them to be sustainable, I think businesses need to probably start looking at exporting sooner rather than later. And you are seeing a number of breweries now tying up successful distribution agreements in the States, West Coast in particular, because obviously there's a massive Irish-American kind of diaspora to aim at as well. But I know one brewery in particular has just signed a deal with Disney, and their beer is going to be in downtown Disney.
What?
That's pretty crazy.
It's got to be all in Boston. You mean, and like Galway Bay got a Boston deal kind of like sewn up. Distribution deal with Sam Adams.
I wouldn't be surprised. I said, you know, I think Galway Bay, there's a few kegs coming over. Like I think Friends of Ham actually had a keg of Home and Fury recently, or are putting it on soon. They were at Barcelona Beer Fest there last week as well.
Yeah.
Like there are certain breweries that I think are really, you know, are good enough to export. I think, you know, like, I think if you look at the mature markets like the UK, the US, you have to be, like, to be good in the Irish market, you become a big fish in a small pond pretty quickly. But to be good and to be critically well received in the UK and the US, for example, like, you just have to look at the rate beer reviews of Galway Bay's beers. Like, best rate beer brewery in Ireland last year, and the best beer was Foam and Fury again, even though they had an opening IPA called Goodbye Blue Monday. It's just absolutely exceptional beer, 6.2%, perfectly smooth, lovely. Replaced Torpedo as a drink, as an extra IPA kind of style for me, in terms of it's always available, and it's only like ever €5.50 for a pint, and it's just great. And I can get growlers of it as well.
Nice. And it's probably much more fresh than Torpedo.
Yeah, it's freshly made. This beer is just superb. But again, it's so many good Irish beers now that are coming on that, you know, like, I've been kind of running a couple of small festivals around the country last year, and I was fortunate late in the year a small brewery launched with their pale ale, and like it won a bronze medal at the Dublin Cup in the Alltech Festival, which quite an achievement for a pale ale, because usually pale ales are, 10 a penny, but when you come across a good pale ale, it's very hard to look beyond it if you're kind of just looking for that first quencher after a long day. I'm just drinking a double Irish, double IPA at the moment, so I'm enjoying this.
What are you on the Film of Fury at the moment?
I drank one earlier.
Double Irish. Okay.
Double Irish. I kind of prefer the double Irish to Foam and Fury, me personally, but I still would never turn down a Foam and Fury on keg in particular. I always enjoy it more on keg.
I can see what you mean. It's a big Simcoe kind of bomb is Foam and Fury. I find Simcoe a difficult hop, really. It's just not to my taste. But it seems to be the kind of the calling kind of like cool craft beer. Everybody who does that big IPA chucks a lot of Simcoe in it. It's like, I prefer kind of like Centennial, Citra, that kind of thing. Amarillo, fruity.
I think so too, because Simcoe can be just way too dank in an IPA.
Yeah.
I think if it's used properly, it can be pretty good. You get more like tropical, slight tropical notes, but with that like intense grapefruit. But if you use too much, it's just like this dank intenseness you get compared to using, as you said, like Citra or something like that. A lot of
brewdog beers. A lot of brewdog beers. There's the stronger ones. Loads of Simcoe. James is obsessed with Simcoe. His puppy's called Simcoe. He's obsessed.
Alright.
Anybody got a question? Subject?
Nope, no questions. I'm out. I'm gonna go to bed. I work at a coffee shop in the morning, so I'm working with craft coffee as well, which is interesting. You guys have any good coffee here?
You were drinking some holy cow out of a coffee cup.
Yep. That's my new stick.
Impressive.
That's a new thing. We should start doing craft coffee reviews on YouTube.
Yeah, craft coffee. It's the whole thing. It's
really
been fast about
it. It is. People are getting very into it.
Yeah,
even
craft
here
coffee
with
and craft beer are like two tandem. They're very parallel universes right now, which is really cool. Coffee is not my thing, but I'm working at a coffee shop, which is awesome, and I dig it. But I have to be up really early in the morning. Not really early, but way more early than you guys. Not as early as Simon, though. So. But I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. I want to do this just all the time. Yeah. If you guys come to Paris, too, please say hello. Oh, yeah. And Wayne, too, I want to go to Dublin in June, by the way. So I'm going to be there. You have to show me around.
Definitely, no problem at all.
Okay. I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
See you later.
Craft coffee reviews. That's the new deal.
I was just going to say...
There's got to be somebody doing it. Sorry, Wayne, what was
There probably is.
Yeah, I should probably withdraw from coffee. The Alltech Festival last weekend or the weekend before, I'm losing track of dates now, but as an aside, there's an event called Irish Pubs Global that runs next to it. Basically, it's Irish Pubs Global is an organisation that represents Irish pubs the world over, so that would include your Irish pub that is in the middle of Phoenix, Arizona, which is about as Irish as my Indian curry. But there's actually, it's fascinating. I've been invited back both years by Irish Pubs Global to have a look around the Trade Expo, and they used to have really good panel discussions on what makes a good pub and picking the right kind of stuff. But I actually found it amazing that there's actually a business based in West Dublin that manufactures bars to measurements for these places, and they're literally put in containers and sent over the sea or over by freight by air, and they're literally just installed into these places. I just found that amazing. But another thing that I saw that amazed me was coffee served on nitrogen.
What?
I had it. I had it in Newtown Bacon last year.
Yeah,
Good.
I had this big idea that I was gonna have it, gonna get a crap stout or a crap IPA and add my nitro coffee into it. But it was a bit light for me. I mean, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I found the nitro coffee quite light. But that was all. But your setup what you were drinking from, Wayne, was much more high tech. What we were drinking from was like a corny keg with like a.
This
It was
setup, if you can imagine,
ramshackle.
was just like a kegerator that had a nitrogen mix through it, and they had like a corny keg of like filter coffee. Now it was a medium enough blend, so it wasn't too strong. But I was just thinking as I was drinking this, I think it was 10 o'clock in the morning, too early for a beer. So wow, that's actually really nice. But I was thinking,
That's an Irishman scene. 10 o'clock in the morning is too early for a beer.
well, I only stopped at 8 o'clock, so I needed a break. But the thing was, it was just like I was just thinking of the implications. Like you could mix it with like an imperial stout, or you could even infuse it with other alcoholic content. But I think they're kind of aiming it at like coffee shops instead of your frappuccino that you actually go in and get a nitro coffee to take away. But it was the most unusual thing. It looked exactly like a pint of Guinness when it was poured in a glass.
That sounds cool though to see. Like,
Yeah, total mind.
it's coffee.
You're just looking at it going, you're telling me that's coffee? Are you sure that's not stout? It's coffee. I can guarantee you it's coffee. But it was a good event. Altec has the unfortunate, for people like who want to come over, it's always on at the same time as the Six Nations. Now, sometimes the Six Nations is away that weekend, and if it is, hotel price in Dublin are cheap. But if there's a home match, Six Nations, we're playing England on the Sunday, like literally every hotel room within 30 miles of Dublin doubles or trebles in value. So it was just a bad weekend for everyone who was maybe looking to come over at that time. But it's a great event, and I'd keep an eye out for the calendar next year. It'll be probably the same weekend again, last weekend in February, because you get a real good international vibe, and obviously a lot of the Irish guys are there as well, which is good.
Yep.
Which one?
Anybody got questions? Any thoughts? I've always got stuff in my back pocket.
Have Twitter asked us anything?
No, they haven't. Annoyingly, there's this guy who's quite a new beer reviewer, as I was hoping he was going to, but I don't know. Has your wife been kind of tweeting the same thing? I've got 2 messages. I don't know what they are. No,
It's really just pity.
Apparently, Adam, who would normally be with us, says the Beavertown tap takeover was awesome. So Adam from Adam's Craft Beer Review, Strange Beers are watching. Wayne probably is not aware of him. Guy based in Manchester. Beavertown are doing a tap takeover at Port Street Beer House in Manchester.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that on Twitter actually. Yeah, so last day I was in Manchester, I actually meant to get over to, I think, was it Beer Battered Conor Murphy? Is it the...
Yeah, Conor. Yeah, Conor Murphy is a great guy.
Yeah, he gave me a list of places to go, and it was just, by the time we got over and got checked in and everything, it was just, we ended up going to like Josh Brooks, Lassagowrie, where else? We ended up in Brewdog anyway for a couple, and a bit of food. So yeah, like the usual stuff, and then when we got back to Leeds, we did that little circuit between Leeds Tap, Friends of Ham, Tap,
Brewdog,
and Bunderbust. Finished out on Bunderbust, and like the journey back to the airport was a bit of a blur. I think I was drinking Punker's IPA is Dead, Citra by Brewdog. The missus had Crooked Moon by McKellar.
Yeah, Crooked Moon Tattoo, maybe. Was it a double IPA?
Yeah, double IPA, crazy looking label. Yeah, so like that was just a really flying visit. I suppose the thing for us, we can get to Leeds quite cheap. Like if you book it in advance, like you're not paying any more than €20 return, which is
it's crazy. Yeah, no, that's why I'm coming over.
Oh, yeah. You're coming over, Steve, in September.
September might be a slightly awkward time, but yeah, earlier the better, shall we say?
Yeah, well, if you're coming over, let us know, and we can show you around. We did an absolutely monster beer crawl with Steve from Beer Club.
I'm not Steve. I'm not drinking pints of strong stuff at the first pub.
He didn't drink pints either.
I tell him off all the time. He drinks pints of Cannonball, 7% IPA. It's not what you should be doing.
Well, I did that off bar there in was it July last year? As I think it first opened. Does it open about 11 o'clock or half 11 in the morning?
It probably does, yeah.
We got into Leeds at about 11:15. I think we went to Starbucks, had a quick coffee, made our way back up to North Bar, and I was like, went in first drink, cannonball, and the barmaid said to me, "You know, it's 7%," and I was like, "Yeah, all right, love, I'm Irish." So yeah, like then I was just like, "Oh, this is so good. Can we stay for another?" And then like we kind of had a route planned out of places to go, so we said, "I will just have one, and we might come back up later on." But there's some really great bars in Leeds, actually. Like I was really impressed with Friends of Ham.
Friends of Ham's great, but it's a funny old place. I mean, it depends what day of the week you're there. They've got if you're there on an evening, because it's Peter and Harry won't really know about this. There's a really good bar in Leeds. It was very small. They were massively oversubscribed. It's really near the train station. It's really kind of prime real estate. And then they expanded, kind of like at least doubled their size, and then but now because they want it to remain quite a nice, relaxed atmosphere, but they're in like prime spot where everybody wants to go because it's got a really nice full window now, so everybody who walks past goes, "Ooh, that looks like a nice place. Let's go in there and get a beer." But you've got to get you can't drink in there unless you've got a table. So for me, I don't feel like I could, because it used to be the place that I'd bob in for an half between trains and stuff. I don't feel welcome anymore because it's just like it didn't cater. So I go to Blunderbuss because my mate is one of the owners of it and stuff. So they have some great stuff. Blunderbuss is a craft beer and Gujarati street food place, so vegetarian Indian food. It's a fantastic place, and they've got a proper Randall's from Dogfish Head. They had to buy in America because you can't buy a Randall if you're not in America. So Randall, the enamel animal. So for Harry, who probably is looking slightly confused,
it's like, can you only buy it in America? Because there's a few bars like in Copenhagen that has it.
You can only buy it if you're in America. You can buy one, and then you can ship it to a friend. This is what they had to do. They had to get a friend to buy it and then ship it. So it's a double chamber infusion kind of system, and because Blunderbuss is a essentially kind of Indian street food cafe, restaurant, and craft beer bar. So they'll put stuff which is kind of Indian-like. So they'll have like mango and cardamom and kaffir lime leaves and coconut and all those kind of things, running through like IPAs and pale ales and stouts and stuff. It's really good. It's a really nice idea. I mean, that leads me on to something I had, which blew my socks off, which is kind of like maybe a slightly detour. Ballast Point's CAMRA. What?
No, it's got
a weird name. Indra Canindra. The
curry stout.
Export curry stout, it should have never worked, and it did. It was absolutely incredible.
I liked it too.
So I guess that question would be, what beers have you had which shouldn't have worked and absolutely did?
That one you just mentioned, because I had it in when I was in the US, and I was like, everyone said, okay, you're only gonna like this if you like weird spicy food and if you like curry and stuff. Like, I do, and then they were expecting me to hate it, but I was like, you can like really taste the kaffir lime, and it's like, it was actually pretty good. That was a weird beer experience, but other than that, things that like you try a beer where something you expect not to work is when you do. Have you ever? I don't know if you guys have ever done beer infusions with like cold pressed coffee thing.
I want to do that. I want to do that. I don't know how successful it might be.
I've done that. It's really fun because you can infuse things that you normally wouldn't think would work. What was it? We did a night where we did different things with a porter that's really good, and one of the best one was gingerbread spiced porter we made. That was awesome. It was just random ratios of spices, and we're like, okay, we put too much ginger in there, and we did the infusion thing, whatever. It turned out awesome. It was like a gingerbread cookie type stuff. It was so cool. And then the same night we also did with Skittles, and that was horrible. It was just sugary mess.
I can see how that might go wrong. Now that's one thing I've been kind of like considering, because I'm starting to do these like monthly events, and it's picking out something new, finding new beers, finding beers that people can't normally get, finding kind of experiences that people might not have bothered with. And that takes me back to what like Ryan did over at San Diego beer vlog with his. He used Speedway, which is, I mean, it's a ridiculous situation.
If I could afford it, I would, but I can't.
Speedway and stuff, but with like coffee and chocolate and coconut and all this kind of stuff. But infusions, I mean, I think that's not been quite.
Excuse me.
I don't think there's been much going on in the UK. I think Brewdog tried it a little bit with, because you can get these little couple of cup infusion things, and you can put hops in it and pour the beer in, but I don't know how effective it is. I did once do the whole dry hopping bottles of Budweiser, and it was an absolutely raging success. I did like an event. This is like car crash kind of like moment in my kind of like beer like fuckery. Is I did an event for the my local craft beer bar for their American Beer Week, and I picked out some Ace beers from my cellar and stuff, and I picked out beers from their selection and stuff. And nobody, there were like 4 people turned up in the end, because it was one of the hottest days of the year, and it was the year when Andy Murray won the Wimbledon title. So it was like everybody in the country is anywhere apart from at my tasting. But I dry hopped bottles of Budweiser with citra pellets, and it was one of the best smelling beers I've ever had. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
It was absolutely incredible. But then I did a few more, and I didn't use my little kind of like CO2 charger and stuff, and they just sprayed like crazy. It was insane. I recapped them and everything, and it just went bad news. So I don't know what happened there. I think Wayne's frozen. Oh no, he's not. He's not.
No, it's just I'm like concentrating. Photos here. Probably looked like I was having a stroke there for a minute. I'm sorry.
Well, when you say stroke, you might mean one thing.
You would have seen my shoulder moving a bit more. Beers that I've had that I didn't think by reading the description would work. I have to say, I tried. Is it Ilkley's World's End, the barrel-aged Chipotle Stout?
I've not had it.
Luke,
the base beer is very good.
He gave me a bottle the last time I was over, and like he gave me that one and Longhorn, which is the cranberry milk stout. Now I tasted the cranberry milk stout and absolutely hated it. It was whiskey barrel aged cranberry milk stout. Dennis actually really liked it, and then we did a bottle share in one of the Galway Bay pubs there over the Alltech weekend. So like it was one of the bottles I brought, and I brought along World's End. And then you open it, and it actually smells like burning wood. Like, you know, like over a barbecue, if you have like a plank that's just like you put the meat on. That kind of smell, I was thinking, God, that smells horrible. It smells like I'm about to eat some charcoal barbecue type thing. Well, it really worked. When you actually got into it, it tasted like a little bit of heat from the Chipotle, combined with the smokiness, and the stout itself was quite smooth. It was a little thin for its ABV, but you know, like at the same time, I just was looking at the description, going, "This is going to be horrific," and it was actually quite nice. I was pleasantly surprised by that, to be honest. But
yeah, speaking of like Chipotle and stuff, I think you have had that one too, Rob. The one McKiller did called Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
The Texas Ranger with Mexican spices. That was made with so many different weird ingredients, but it was awesome. the one with like chili and horchata syrup and avocados, leaves, or all these kinds of weird things. It was like a Mexican mole type porter thing, and it was really good. That worked really well too.
What is a mole? Because I've been hearing this thing around, and cause I think Stone did like a mole, and a couple of other American breweries did it, and I think maybe Belgian Beaver. I remember Chris Stelz going absolutely bonkers for one. What is a mole?
Mole is like a Spanish it's a Mexican dish that is kind of it's a special type of sauce you make. I believe it has like chocolate and stuff in it, and it's made with like smoked peppers and stuff.
I'm saying it's because I'm going to completely nick this idea. Because I don't think this idea is going to like hit the UK, but there's something at it. I mean, there's something which massively appeals to people. So I want to know what it is.
Actually, I'll be making tomorrow. I'm hosting a small beer dinner for some friends. We have a little beer club where we we do like the different courses and pair them with beer. And I'll actually do it's not a mole, it's a chili, but I'll be using like dark chocolate and some of the ingredients you use in mole for it, and also actually chipotle pepper. But it's fun though. That like I think a few breweries has done like Mexican style imperial stouts now in the U.S. I mean, Hunapu was the first one, and then came like Mexican Cake, and then Stone had the Chocovesa, the homebrew winner, and
that was the one what Chris Stelz went mental for. The Stone one, the homebrew winner from Stone.
I can't remember. It's Chris something, right? The homebrew winner.
It was Stelz.
Because actually, I've met the guy.
Cool.
When I was in San Diego, when I was hanging out with Ryan, and at CBC.
I see.
But yeah, that seems to be a trend of doing Mexican spiced stouts.
Yeah, Mexican Cake is incredible. I mean, this weekend, what did you think of the 4th anniversary from West?
It's pretty good, but not as good as Mexican Cake.
Because I might grab a bottle of that this weekend.
It is worth a go for sure, because it's a really damn good beer, but it's not as wowing as Mexican Cake is.
It's probably 2/3 of the price of Mexican Cake when I found it anyway.
Oh yeah, it's much cheaper.
So I spotted Wayne's has brought a can into the equation. Is that a metal man?
No, it's not. It's Dead Pony.
Oh, Dead Pony. Okay. How's Dead Pony in a can these days?
It's very good. Like actually, my local pub bought, I think, to have Christmas beers in the house. I just bought a case of Dead Pony and a case of Brooklyn. So this is kind of the remnants.
And you've still got some left.
Yeah, I know. It's like I kept getting more beer. I was like, these are just like the sippers. If people come around, you can say, here, I've a can of Dead Pony. You're not getting any of my good stuff. But like over the festive period, I think I went in a drink store to sort out the beer o'clock box. Like it was that happened by total chance. I've been emailing a number of off licenses to see would any of them consider shipping over to the UK, because a number of them were like, nah. And I was literally in with Ken, the guy who owns Drink Store, and I was like, Ken, I've got something to run by you. This is what I'm doing. And I told him about the Beer O'Clock show and what we're trying to do over season 6. And I said, I've got 6 beers. I know you don't stock all of them, but would you stock all of them and put them all in a box and ship them to the UK? And he said, well, look, I'll tell you what, give me a few days to come back to you with the numbers, which he did. And thankfully came back well in on price, and the delivery charge is reasonable because it's generally packaged quite well. And it's great to find that we actually have an off license now in Ireland that's happy to ship Irish beer into the UK. I think 20 quid covers up to 18 bottles. I think it's up to 15 kilos, which isn't.
I didn't think about it. I just kept pressing buttons.
Yeah, that's the danger. It's like
3 of them, 4 of them.
I find myself in the Brewdog online shop, and I'm like, yeah, I still have my mortgage payment. this month. I might dial it back. But no, it's great to work with Ken. Like I pop in on my way home from work some Friday evenings, and you know it doesn't be long. You drop in money, and he gets some beers in that no other off license gets in. He had is it Scar Brewing Decadent?
Oh yeah.
Their Imperial IPA, which I'd never seen in Ireland before, and I was just walking past this red bottle on the shelf, and I was like, "What's that?" Oh yeah, just got that in. Decadent IPA. I think I only have 12 bottles.
It's got wax tips.
Wax tips as well. Yeah, so it's just like
that makes it 3 times better, you know. When it's got wax on it.
It was a bit of a struggle getting the wax tip off.
It's all about technique.
It's like the 200 Fathoms now. I have a few bottles of that, and I want to pick up a couple more to kind of sell it because I still have one of last year's batch in the press. So I kind of want to keep them for a while and sell them. I think they get better.
The press? Is that some Irish word for?
In the cupboard for Anglophiles.
The press. Oh, you're just so much more lyrical.
It's in the genes.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I hope Peter can get some Irish beer 'cause it's some fantastic stuff going on. Some exciting stuff.
Mainly it's Porterhouse and Guinness Murphy's Beamish.
Beamish is fucking new. Beamish is Newcastle.
Okay, I mean, it's sold here as an Irish beer, so.
Yeah, well, that's how
yeah.
But Mikkeller did have an Irish dry stout, didn't they? My mate's bar has a Mikkeller Irish stout.
I actually don't know. I don't know. It's hard to follow. He puts out so goddamn many beers.
Yes, he does. I'm sure he can't even keep track of it.
Oh no!
That's why he's got a team.
Yeah.
Did any of you pick up the Mikkeller Book of Beer?
Which one?
Nope. Because I wasn't sent it, unlike every other blogger in the UK.
Yeah, that's a hint that we're obviously shit, Rob.
No, that means that we're not conforming.
Oh, not conforming. Yeah.
What beer are you talking about?
Hey, we're icons. It doesn't realise who we are. But if Peter's not been saying, that's mental actually. Cause, like, Peter's the most prominent beer blogger that I'm aware of in Denmark.
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, because I saw it come up on a few guys' Twitter feed.
Zach Avery, and I saw their responses to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was kind of just looking at it on Amazon. I was wondering, is it worth buying?
From reading what Zach wrote about it, probably not.
What did he say the name of the beer was?
No, it's a book. So Mikkeller brought out a book.
I haven't heard of that. Mikkeller's beer.
Yeah.
Or something. Right.
Yeah. It just seems a bit. Yeah. He kind of gives away a couple of recipes, and it's craft beer from his point of view, which is fair enough. I'm not sure I've met Mikkel. He's a nice guy. I don't know if I want to listen to his. If anybody's seen the YouTube video called "The Architect," I think that's a really good piece of work. I think really if you ever want to know anything about Mikkel, watch "The Architect." I think it sums it up perfectly. I think it shows him in a really positive light. I think people take shots at him for making too much beer and making kind of inconsistent beer, but he doesn't make those beers. It's majority, like 60% of the time, it's probably the proof. Mikkel is a weird kind of composite of a lot of things that go on in the world of beer, and he does some great stuff, and he thinks of great beers, and some very talented brewers bring his beers to life, and they have done for a number of years, which is great. Like Nergner did some fantastic work, and I think Lervig are doing some great stuff for him at the moment as well. But Let's see. I think it's a brand. It's a brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he kind of like object to the idea of it's a brand and well done.
yeah, I mean that documentary there it is really good, and especially like a lot of people. He says it himself. Like a lot of people think he's arrogant, but that's because he's like shy.
Yeah, just a bit.
And I also think it's because he's Danish, because we have the whole law of Genti thing, and like, you know, don't think you're better than anyone else. You kind of keep to yourself. I guess it has to do with that too. But also something you mentioned Nøgne. Have you heard that the former founder / brewmaster, Kjetil Ikun, just quit?
Really?
Yeah, he stopped to open a winery in, I can't remember where it was, somewhere in Southern Europe, I can't remember, but he's going to open a vineyard instead.
You see, when I think of Nøgne, I think of Kjetil.
Yeah, that's the guy I talked about.
The big guy, yeah.
He
He started a winery.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's mental. Last time I saw Kjetil, he was him and Garrett Oliver in North Bar in Leeds. It was the most chaotic situation ever. They had like a microphone, really just a microphone and that music playing really loud. It was ridiculous. It's like you've got Garrett Oliver, who's like icon of American brewing, and then Kjetil, who's like he's one of the biggest men I've ever come like face on with. He's like 6 foot wide, with his like plaited beard, and he's so lovely. He's such a gentle guy. So, yeah, he's a really nice guy. But, I'm really surprised. But so when if Kjetil's nothing to do with Nøgne becomes
Kjetil hasn't done well as far as I know. At least lately, what he has done is not like brew at the actual brewery. What he's been doing has been like a front figure for Nøgne, and an ambassador, and traveling around, speaking about the brewery and stuff. They have a lot of new brewers there making good beer, but because he was the front figure, a lot of people are now skeptic about the future of Nøgne, especially because they already sold part of the company to a bigger company in Norway making mainly macro beer, which were kind of like with Goose Island, but I'm pretty convinced that they'll keep on doing like really good stuff, mainly because of you have new innovative minds already working at the brewery, and I'm sure they'll keep doing great stuff. Because if he already hasn't been brewing there for a while and being an ambassador.
Exactly. I mean, therein lies an interesting situation. It's kind of like when something is from its inception, you kind of like, oh, these people are involved in that, so that means that is the authentic version of it. It's like bands. It's like the first. It's like the first version of the Sex Pistols was the best version of the Sex Pistols. Maybe it wasn't. Glenn Matlock was a bit of an idiot, but then Sid Vicious encompassed everything that the Sex Pistols were, but he was a terrible bass player. But it's kind of like, how do you kind of like sort it out? It's like, on Saturday I'm really excited to go over to Beavertown. I'm probably my favourite brewer in the UK. I drink more Beavertown beer than probably any other beer. When people think of Beavertown, people think of Logan. Which is great. He was the founder. He's still the owner, but Logan's not the brewer. I think she's called Jen, and people kind of overlook who is kind of seen as the kind of like the public face of the brewery, opposed to who is producing the beer, and for the consumer. That what is in the glass is the main thing, and that's the important thing. Despite that, the frizzles around the edges might be great. It's kind of like with Stone. Stone Brewdog. They're the great examples of kind of the sizzle and the steak. I mean, it's kind of James and Martin are the sizzle, but the steak is actually Bauman and I forgot the German guy whose name I can't remember right now, who I found really intimidating. So I can't remember his name. Franz, yes, Franz. I was massively intimidated by Franz. But so yeah. So they are the people who brew the beer, but Martin and James, the people who do the publicity and the TV series and all that.
Yeah.
So,
but he like Shittin from Nugna has like a lot of people have been like, oh shit, you know, like Nugna's gonna make that beer, but he also deserves a lot of credit because in Norway he is kind of like the grandfather of craft beer because he was like the guy who brought craft beer to Norway. So I understand why a lot of people are worried, but at Nugna at the moment you have a lot of people working who are passionate about craft beer. Why shouldn't they be able to do beer as well? That's my opinion. That was the same idea I had with Goose Island. They might be bought up by a big brewery and they take care of some of the core production, but they're still making great beer. Just looking at the variations they've been doing of Goose or the Bourbon County and all that stuff. Just because because Greg Hall from Goose Island also left because of the purchase with Budweiser, but just because that person leaves doesn't mean that the brewery is going to make bad beer because of that. There are other creative minds who are going to, follow up. But on the place where he opened the vineyard is on Crete.
It's on Crete. He's opening a brewery on Crete.
No, Shittin is opening a vineyard on Crete.
He should open a brewery there. Cause so many bloody...
Well, it doesn't say he's opened a vineyard or a winery. It says he's bought a vineyard.
Oh, I'd open a brewery. It's just an old British holiday makers. You make a killing.
Say opening a brewery over there is good business because I met a consultant from... who was consultant for Purity Brewing, and he has worked with someone else to open a brewery up in Turkey. And there are only 4 other breweries in Turkey, and this is the main microbrewery, and it's already hit its capacity at like 40 barrel, and it's going to have to expand really, really quickly. Can't handle it. Can't cope with its potential capacity really. So it's a perfect place to open up over there, even with more tourists going over there as well.
Yeah, there's so many kind of like untapped markets. It's ridiculous. It really is. One thing I want to kind of like squeeze in before we sign off for the night. Jake Overton, who's a relative newcomer to our BeerTube empire, he's massively into him. If you haven't watched him, he's really good. He's really fun. Have you watched him?
Oh no! I just laughed at you calling it the BeerTube empire.
But that's you, Peter. It's not me.
Right.
But I mean, so he's been watching all night as well. It's really cool. We will have you on in the future, Jake. So I think you're massively entertaining. I think it's a really good one to end on. I know we've talked about this in the past as well, but different group of people. So, Jake asks, it would be interesting to know what was your first craft beer that you started you on your craft beer path.
Okay, well, my first craft beer was from the Badger Brewery, and that was their Golden Champion. It blew my mind. I was 16 years old, started high school, and in Denmark the drinking age is 16. And
16?
I just
I thought about 24.
No, it's 16 to drink and 18 to get into bars.
I was always really suspicious of Peter when he first started. So like,
I was only 19 when I started doing.
He was like 14 when he started doing his videos in his green bedroom. I'm like, come on. I
look like a little kid.
People in Denmark are quite serious. They're not going to mess around with it. It's like a 24 limit. Anyway.
but yeah, I had that because I was kind of fed up when you went to parties drinking the macro stuff because it was like I didn't really like it. And then at one point, I was out shopping with my dad, and I saw this beer with a badger on it. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, I'll have a bottle of that for the parties and that, whatever. And I brought it to the party, and I was like, what? And that was my revelation. It was a Badger Golden Champion.
Cool. Wayne?
Oh, my brain cells are so damaged. Let me see. I suppose my kind of journey into the kind of blogosphere and everything kind of came with a kick in the ass from the missus. We would have regularly gone to Porterhouse with mates, more on the idea of like cocktails, whiskey, beer roulette on the beer list to see what happened. But I suppose my real epiphany was we were over in Bingley, and this would have been about 2006, 2007.
That's like the same time as me then.
Yeah, mate of mine lived just, what's the name of it, Ireland Bridge or Ireland Street, just down near the Brown Cow and the White Horse, or is it White Pony?
Yeah, Brown Cow.
I think we were kind of still probably conditioned macro drinkers at the time, and we got over and there was like nothing really familiar to us in terms of beers we recognised, and then we went into this, the Brown Cow, it's a Timothy Taylor pub, and like it's just looking at all the lines of the different Timothy Taylors. Janice's epiphany was Timothy Taylor Landlord.
Really? Wow, interesting.
I really liked Ram Time. I was like, bloody hell, this tastes really good. A nice dark beer and so much flavour. I'll always appreciate good cask ale. Like the people some pubs try to do it over here, but fail miserably because they just don't cellar it properly, or they don't really get it moved quick enough. Because
it's alright, they do that over here.
Yeah, I know that. But like there's these pubs that are craft. And, I've gone in and I've had a pint of something and it's like vinegar. I'm like, why is that still even on? It's just like a little taste by everyone at the beginning of the service should be able to tell you if it's close to going or not. But no, Timothy Taylor, Ram Time for me and Landlord for the missus were the two kind of things that said, hang on, there's more out there. And we started kind of visiting the local off license from there and expanding our horizons.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it goes back to... I was always interested in. I'm interested in flavours. So, it's Erdinger and Maiselweiss and then like bits of kind of delirium and quark because it's got a funny glass and stuff. So that's kind of like tempering around in bars and stuff. But I guess when I started branching out, it was a couple of bottle shops. You find Sierra Nevada, you find Anchor Steam, but the big one I've got to kind of, and I've still got a couple of bottles over there from kind of like the awakening, my first expensive bottle of beer. It's still over there. It's an awful shame, but it's all down to the guys at Brewery. Zach Avery, who now owns the business, was just the manager at the time. And the staff there, I mean, it's encouraging people, it's engaging people, and it was just them saying, "Oh, what do you normally drink?" "Oh, no, I drink this, so I go with that." And it was a nice lager, it was a nice wheat, but it was a quad. It was like a blonde, it was a triple, and it goes down the line really. So for me, the kind of like easy thing to say would be Sierra Nevada Pale, because that's kind of like a very approachable flavour. I didn't like Anchor Steam when I first had it. I've got to admit, I can remember sitting in my girlfriend, who is now my wife, flat and watching telly and going, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." And it just wasn't quite right. But yeah, and Pubcake, the first time that was at my mother-in-law's, and we had a barbecue, and they had it at the local supermarket. I'll try that. And they were, "Ooh, I'm not sure about that either." But so for me, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, it's an obvious idea, but one thing I'll go beyond that to give my stamp of craft beer kind of approval would be Coney Island. Albino Python, and I think it's Cognac lager. I've got bottles over there. They were the first beers that I bought that felt like proper craft beer to me. It was lager and it was Belgian beer, which was all very exciting, but that felt like something different. It felt like something new, something exciting. And they're really good looking bottles and stuff, so I think for me, Sierra Nevada seems like an obvious choice because everybody else says Sierra Nevada because it's a very accessible kind of like flavour. I love it, but
it's funny you say that with like the beer that turned you on to like it's like, oh, this is what craft you can be.
It's an experience as much as it is a flavour.
Yeah, because the Badger beer I talked about was more so turning me into on to trying different beers. Like the revelation beer for me that said like craft beer is so amazing was oddly enough Hop and Frog Mean Manalishi Double IPA.
That's massive. But at the same time, see, I didn't drink British cask ale. I would drink American craft beer and British and Belgian and German beer. I wouldn't drink British cask ale. So you saying that, it's like you got into kind of like through boring British beer, but then it's Mean Manalish.
Yeah, which is like so different from Badger.
It's an £18 bottle of beer. The first time I saw that on sale in the UK, £18.
And the reason why is because it was because at first I was very hesitant about buying expensive bottles of beer. It was because I got to try a bottle at a bottle shop or to try a sample, and I was like, okay, maybe I should give it a go, and I bought a bottle, and that's like from then on it's like, okay, then you're okay with the price, and then it just went downhill from there.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the big thing, isn't it? Really, it's the bursting of the cherry, really.
Yeah.
It's like what are you prepared? What are you interested in? What are you prepared to go? Where are you prepared to go in this? In this kind of like craft beer, just in the general beer world. I mean, I've got no issues with people who want to drink like a cask ale at £2.20 a pint and stuff like that. There's no issue with that. But where do you want to go on your journey? I guess that's, and I think everybody who we've had on tonight, they've made that specific choice that I'm interested. So I'm gonna I'm happy to pay a little bit more. I'm happy to make a bit more effort to find that something a little bit special. Because I'm not just gonna settle for what's in front of me.
I say my way I got into beer, going back to your original question, was like completely by accident. Was because I had never drank beer before I went onto craft beer. I was like ciders, and I was saying ciders. I was saying Strongbow was my sort of standard of stuff. But I had years and years of my brother going to all these different countries, bringing back beers, and I was like, I'd never try them. I've got a couple of beers that you would have brought back, like this one here, which is Ponghak 11. North Korean beer flexing here. Then Ponghak 12, and yes, it's like it's quite funny when how I got into beer. I just literally found when my brother came down to where I was. We went out on a pub crawl and went visiting all these different bars, and then eventually came across. I didn't know where we were by that time, but we were at Brewdog, and so I suppose I'm one person who I can say has definitely been turned by the Brewdog revolution, and started on my punk IPA, and I tasted it. I think, what the fuck is this sort of stuff? I was like, what on earth is this? It tastes awful. And I thought after that, no, you know what? I've got to try and twist myself onto liking beer a bit more. And just went down to Waitrose and bought loads of bottles of Punk IPA, and just all of their range, which I could guess at the time, and just kept tasting all these different beers, and just slowly kind of weaned my taste buds onto liking beer a bit more. And now I'm addicted to it. But yeah, it's I like exploring. For me, I like exploring all the different the craft beer revolutions in different countries, because I tend to be doing Russian beers, and to be honest, the standard of Russian beers is pretty awful at the moment. I'm really having to search long and hard about trying to get some proper craft beers. But one beer I've managed to get through, and it was nigh on impossible getting this because I had to get my friend to bring it back. I had this out in North Korea, and it is in a Qingdao bottle, but it's actually a North Korean beer, and it is this, and I think it's a Taedonggang beer, but it's similar to like when you get a mass-producing beer brewery doing a like a craft beer. That's what they've done basically with this brewery, and it's in its early stages. I say North Korean craft beer. It's a bit weird, but it's interesting to see where that's going to go in its minute market, because they don't have a lot of beer. They don't have a lot of beers in the first place, so it's interesting to see where that goes. But yeah, it's interesting to see all different countries for me.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that's as good as. Sorry, go on, Wayne.
No, I was just going to say, does it come with free brainwashing?
I've already had that.
Ooh, so controversial.
That's actually really interesting, though. Like, to think that beer is made out of North Korea, it's like probably easier for the beer to get out than the people.
Yeah.
Saying that, after the way I got it, not at all. I had to get a friend to buy it, or my brother to buy it over there. Because when I was over there, it was like really difficult to even bring bottles back. It was difficult. But yeah, what I'd say on North Korea, I think my opinions are pretty strong on it. I'm not going to get into that conversation, but don't believe all you read is all I'm going to say.
Okay. Interesting. So you didn't expect that on a bit of a kind of like offhand, kind of like beer related kind of chin wag on a Thursday night. So I think there's no better time to finish than a slight kind of like offhand comment about North Korea. Then anyway, big thanks to the hardcore, Harry, Peter, Wayne, me, Simon, not as much, Peter, Mitch and Jack. It's been a really good night actually. It's really good to have like a really different group of people, kind of like a wider understanding of what's going on. It's great. I like to talk about beer. I like to drink beer. I think I've drunk more beer than you lot have as well. If you didn't notice, I've been popping back to my fridge once in a while. But I'm not working for another 4 days, so I don't care. I was trying to get Adam on, but Adam's on his way back from a Beavertown takeover, and he's got some snazzy beers. He's got some Girardin and some smoked beer from Siren and Stillwater. So we'll give the doff of the hat to Mr. Adam Barker. Anyway, I think we should sign off because I really need a piss. Big time. I really do.
No better way to sign off than that, Rob.
Yeah.
Right. See, I love it. I love it because we've got people watching now. We've got people watching now. Yay! Let's just stay on forever, and we'll have loads of people watching afterwards, and it's really good. And I really appreciate everybody who watches this because it's essentially just a bunch of idiots talking about like a habit we should have got out of a number of years ago. It's not good for us, but we love it, and it brings people together. This is what I love about this whole bullshit. I've got a guy from from Denmark. I've got a guy from Ireland. A girl from Hawaii, way of Paris, France. I've got some chap who loves a Polish beer over in Wales. I've got my mate Harry over here from the Black Country. We would have had stew if you want even Sardinia. It's great. Beer brings people together. This is what it's all about. So, I'm Rob from hopzing.com. He's Wayne from the Irish Beer Snob. Peter, the mega icon of YouTube. Massive hoppets. Harry the beer guy. Check him out. It's all good. See you next time. See you next month. Cheers.
Cheers.